Hello, everybody, and welcome to Core. This is Core, the final one of this year, I guess, right? Let's see.
I mean, unless something weird happens, yeah.
Yeah, the way the dates work, it will be 2025 when you hear from us again. That'll be next year, and that means next week. We're not actually missing any episodes, but yeah, look at us hitting all our marks on a holiday in the holidays. This is amazing. We haven't missed an episode. That's really impressive, I think, that we've been able to pull this off. So well done, you and us and everyone here. Anyway, welcome to the show that is the only international podcast concern that offers partial refunds on all merchandise purchased in one of our many physical stores around the world. All right, so just don't worry. If you picked it up and you didn't like it for the holidays, you can take it back. Where are those stores? I'm not going to tell you. That's just standard procedure here at Frog
They're in your
Central.
butt.
They're in your butt. Hey, you're not in our butts, though. I'm Scott. That's Beau that just said butt things, and that's, of course, John over there as well. We're here to talk about games in a time of the year that usually there's nothing really new to talk about except, you know, what we're playing, what you guys are thinking, a few things here and there. But we also saved our year in, or what do they call the replay Steam thing? We've saved that for today because last week their website was
I'm pretty proud,
broken.
though, because John was like, there was nothing to talk about. And I found 4 news articles that I'm like, I think these are okay.
They're not bad. One of them is, which one is it? The Rocksmith one is for a very specific
One's just
group.
for me, but whatever.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'll take it. I don't care. Boy, if it's for one of us, it's for all of us.
it's of note because Ubisoft is sinking and Rocksmith is an Ubisoft joint. So I got shit to say.
What if this is what saves them, Beau? This could be it. You know?
Yep, that's what did it.
Yeah.
No, it won't be what saves them.
Okay. What do you?
They do deserve. Well, we'll get to it when we get to it, but they deserve credit for what they did.
Let me ask you this question here at the top of the show to each of you.
Sure.
Okay.
We'll start with John. What does Ubisoft have to do to save Ubisoft at this point?
Make good video games.
Just making good games. That's all they need to do. I agree with you, by the way.
Rocksmith 2025, baby.
All right. So Beau says Rocksmith 2025. John says maybe that's a great game. Maybe that goes with John's, perhaps. I tend to think that making better games is always the answer. And just rely on that and quit relying on marketing and the fact that you're huge or that you constantly are telling people how many studios you have and all that. Nobody cares. We just want to play good games.
Yeah,
So-
I think, and it's very easy. You know, I kind of feel like there was a collective, any game developers, we know a few who listen to the show are like, meh, when they hear make good games, because it's not easy. You know,
of
it's
course
like,
not.
It's like telling somebody, just tightrope walk across.
Yeah.
What's the problem? You need to get over there, just walk across a rope. You know? It's not easy, but like, you know, I think that a lot of audiences have gotten very good, or a lot of people have gotten good at putting their fingers in their ears and going, no, we know best.
Yeah.
And like, as obnoxious as some of the echo chambers and loud voices on the internet can be, there's feedback to be had there.
Yeah.
And you should mine it.
Yeah.
And you should learn to, you know, you don't have to listen to everything everybody says, but you should figure out why people are saying that and address it.
Yeah. Also, there have been times in your company where you were hitting on all cylinders, figure out what that was and what it was about the timing and all those other things and try to figure it out. But also we're talking about, like, to stick with your metaphor about tightrope walking. We're not asking for a guy on the street who's never tightrope walked in his life to do it. We're asking professional tightrope walkers to do it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's your job.
It's your job.
Yeah,
it's what you
you're asked
make
to do.
Yeah, it's what you make. So I don't think people should be making excuses for game producers when they're not producing good games and then going, well, it's not easy. Okay, well, I guess it's also easy, but it is easy for me not to give them my $70 every time something happens because they're starting to lose my confidence that they can make great games again. So as much as I would love to, I don't want them to fail. Or any big company like this, small or otherwise. I want smart, creative people to win. They just they're in a bad place.
So question, considering this stuff is like arguably art, right?
Yeah.
I don't mean that. It's a weird way to put it. Just arguably, like, it is art.
It is art.
But it's highly
Right,
commercial product.
Yeah.
It's always funny, just sort of sidestepping metaphorically into music a little bit, how much like blame gets put on the artists when things don't go the way listeners expect. like the example that comes to mind when Metallica does like an alternative album because they wanted to experiment, and everyone they got a lot of flack for that.
Like Load,
and they're like yeah, we're a commercial product. Yeah, you come to our concerts, but also we'll make whatever the fuck we want. Like that's what I mean. It's like people, like I think there's a certain element of that. But you're mad at them, and then there's a band that's done like the 10th album. Like I'm struggling to think of an example, but it just sounds the same. It's more the same old slop. It's not exciting. Yes, it's professionally produced.
Coldplay. Let's go with Coldplay.
Sure, yeah. All the money in the world is thrown at it. They're doing their best. There's no reason for anyone to be upset. But they're like, that same old Assassin's Creed for the 50,005 bajillionth time.
Yeah.
So like. It makes for good content to grouse about. I'm not saying Ubisoft deserves some benefit of the doubt because there are screw-ups happening and bad things happening, but at the same time, sometimes the party's over. Sometimes that's the case, man. Like, sometimes it's just no matter what you want to do, make a good game, you can make the best game in the world. The party's just over. People are just not feeling it. Like, how do you guarantee you're gonna make, like, sort of to your point? It's like, yeah, just make a good game. That's all you got to do. Sometimes the party's over and people are just not interested.
But in this case, this party, if the metaphor holds, has an opportunity to say, yeah, we know everyone's a little tired of our party. Hunker down and make that party so fun that you can't deny how fun it is.
It's also not the first time that Ubisoft has had to reinvent itself.
Yeah, it's true.
Like Ubisoft, actually, more than maybe most companies I can think of, has had this like waxing and waning period of like they kind of reinvent things. It's like, like they did Far Cry 3 and they got a bunch of attention, and it's like, and look, we got Assassin's Creed Origins. There's nothing like that. We've reinvented Assassin's Creed. And then they go, yeah, we reinvented it. Now let's beat it to death.
Yeah.
And we're kind of at the end of a beat it to death stage. It's time to reinvent, and there's no indication that they're reinventing. It's like, but we're gonna keep doing what we've always done. And it's like, well, it isn't working.
Mm-hmm. I guess reinventing is the way to go. It's just the party's happening at Hoyoverse, right? Party's happening at From Software.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, Ubisoft could release the coolest shit right now. People are like, lame.
I mean, like they might, but I mean, yes, sure, the pre-reaction, but I think at some point, if your stuff transcends public opinion, in other words, there's something so deniably good about what you put out there, I think that can win out. It can. I'm not saying it's easy.
That's where the convulsions comes in, because what is it that's going to hit that mark and also make them the money they want?
Yeah. Hard.
It's hard. Because it's like they can make the best game in the world that does 1 million in sales, and that's not good. As we've learned many times, companies can be very unhappy with what looks like to us a critically acclaimed and well-selling game. And that kind of impasse, suggests the party's over. Unless, like, a company used to come out and be like, you know what? We're downsizing. But you can't do that when you're publicly traded, because then you're purposely shrinking your company, and I think you can get sued for that.
Yeah.
So you're just effed. It's just the party's over. That's what it sounds like to me. So I don't know. I don't think Ubisoft's the only one that's going to be facing these kinds of impasses. I think Square Enix is going to face it. I think Sony's going to face it. I think Microsoft's so huge.
They force it.
That they might just roll it into, the losses column and ride it out, right?
They brute force their success sometimes, those guys. But
it's like, if you think just long term, like think in decades, right? Mm-hmm. Like, yes, we have a golden age of gaming. Is this industry's like nascent? Like at this size, it's a couple decades old, maybe. Does it last like Hollywood's lasted 100 years? Like, is it ebb and flow, or does it just like bubble burst and it's just indies?
Look, we've been around it long enough to see what seemed like really high stakes battles and losses. Let's say in the 90s, where all that mattered was Sega and Nintendo toe to toe, and who was going to one-upmanship each other and what would happen. And it seemed like a massive blow when Sega says we're out of the console market and we're just going to publish and we're going to put Sonic on other systems. And these things seem seismic and crazy at the time. We've had enough time now where we can kind of look back and go, yeah, Sega's done all right for themselves. This Warhammer shit they do on PC is pretty amazing. They published this year's arguably the best game of the year with ReFantazio and their alignment with that whole series and the Persona stuff, the Yakuza stuff. Like I'd argue Sega's never been cooler than they are right now in terms of their properties. They just aren't making consoles and they aren't in that war, so to speak. So it may be that's what Ubisoft, and it's not the same difference, but it may be just Ubisoft in 15 years isn't the way we think of them now. It may be just that they diversified or sold off chunks or became smaller or did whatever, and we're suddenly singing the praises of a much more smaller, agile, spin-out studio that makes cool open world games or something. Or I don't know. I just don't think this stuff is as devastating as it looks like in the moment. It typically has a way of kind of ironing itself off.
I don't think of it as devastating. I just think like things will fall and new things will rise in its place rather than it just be Ubisoft for 15 decades. Because I'm pretty sure we're getting another round of slop from some of the big companies because the AI investment's happening now.
Yeah.
So, just like NFTs, like maybe last year or the year before, those NFT games finally just started to get pushed. Like, I know EVE Online's got a crypto game.
Ubisoft just released an NFT game.
Crypto game. So all those crypto pipeline games are now hitting quietly because obviously only suckers are going to play them. And the AI slop that the current hype, like Nvidia's pushing it hard, everyone's pushing it hard. We haven't seen the actual big AI mistakes yet when it comes to development. But like I said, I swear I've heard a few lines in Dragon Age even that I swear were AI voice lines, and we've seen like some small examples of people probably patching that in, but like using this generative stuff top down, I think was still yet to be seen. And I'm pretty sure one of our beloved big companies are going to put the proverbial foot in the mouth on that one and further compound their failure. So,
who do you think will be the first out of the gate with like the worst generative top to bottom garbage AI monster game? What do you think that'll be?
I don't know. I mean, it feels like Ubisoft is the prime
gut reaction is to say EA because it always feels like it's EA, but
right.
you never know.
It could be EA too.
Could be Tencent.
EA and Ubi. It's a big company.
Yeah, it's usually one of those bigger ones because for all the areas where it's like, oh, they're doing good work. This is good. They're making good progress here. At a big enough company somewhere, someone's doing something stupid.
I'd be shocked.
I've worked for small companies, and someone somewhere is doing something stupid at all times. Sometimes I was the one doing the stupid thing. So, like, it's bound to happen. You get a big enough company, someone's going to go, just AI.
I can tell you the dumbest shit happening at Frog Pants is happening right here in the central office here with this one guy that I know. That's where all the dumb shit happens.
With the main employee.
Yeah, with that one guy. Anyway, sorry, Beau. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I have a feeling we'll see that shit in mobile before we see it in AAAs.
Yeah.
And maybe that'll... I don't know. That slop tends to work better on mobile and in certain other markets.
False positives on mobile, right? Because if they see success, it might be skewed because of the mobile market's always skewed towards some of that gets through. And then you worry the mainstream will go, well, if it's happening there, it'll work here. And then they overcorrect. And I'm not looking forward to it, if I'm honest.
I just, like what they say, faster, smaller, faster, larger, farther.
Yeah.
But it's hard to move that ship. I feel like, player bases or client markets are kind of like that too. Like, I think we're still putting up with a lot of stuff we're unhappy with. And I think at a certain point, that those sales, that interest is going to slow down if it hasn't started already.
Check out this list of the world's biggest video game companies in 2024. Here's a nice this is one of the sum ups we haven't talked about. Sony is currently on top of $28.8 billion in revenue for the year. It's Tencent, based in Shenzhen, $25.5 billion. They're number 2. In a close race of third place, you have Microsoft at $21.5 billion. And then you have a precipitous drop to the fourth place, which is NetEase with $11.5 billion, Nintendo at $10.8, EA at $7.6, Epic Games at $5.8, Take-Two Interactive at $5.3, making that big NBA 2025 2K money. And then MiHoYo, which I think is all your free-to-play bullshit stuff Beau's always talking about.
It's Genshin.
Genshin Impact, $3.8 billion.
Bonkers.
And then at the bottom, $2.8 billion, Roblox is the 10th largest game company, publisher, developer in the world. So anyway, good job, I guess, to the top. The top three are all in the 20 billions. Everybody else pretty low in comparison. But I remember when this business, it wasn't even that long ago. Maybe it was 05, 04. But I remember people going, the video game business hit a market cap collectively of $2.2 billion this year. Amazing, blah, blah. And I'm like, wow, that's crazy. Now it's nothing, man. It's freaking nothing.
But it also depends on what they put into it, too. You know, if those companies are investing, you know, the same amount of money that they're making, it's not a good year for them, even if they made a ton. Like, it's kind of what we've talked about. Like, gaming can be a wide, diverse like landscape, right? Yeah. And it's funny because as often as we go, oh, we don't want woke stuff, or oh, you know, there needs to be room for everybody, no sexy ladies in video games, no ugly ladies in video games, all this bullshit that keeps getting talked about on the internet. Like, in truth, there's room for everything, but there has to be it has to be big enough for the market. If you make a quadruple A game that's going to appeal to a very small audience, that's not good. Anything can come to the party and play, but you have to be able to sustain whatever audience you're going for. Like, if I want to make a game for 2 people, well, it better have a budget that 2 people buying my video game is going to be, oh, that was worth it. You know what I mean? Like, so these companies that are making a ton of money, if they spent an insane amount of money to get that, it's not great. It's not a great deal. But a company, I mean, I'm explaining basics here, but it feels like there's a lot of companies out there that are constantly surprised by this. Yeah, you know, Ubisoft is making quadruple A video games. Like, that's part of the problem. They're like, well, why aren't we profitable? We're making quadruple A video games. Well, nobody's buying it.
Yeah,
you know, people are more excited about a like reuse of assets from Infinite Wealth to make a pirate Yakuza game than they were about the quadruple A Skull and Bones.
Yeah,
you know, like one of those is reusing assets again. And it's one of the spoilers for next week. Things I'm most excited about for next year is a pirate game. And it's half of it is reused assets from a game I've already played.
Sure.
Doesn't matter.
Sure.
It's being done well. It's telling a story I'm interested in. It's got character. That's awesome. So that game's going to do great for him, I think.
Yeah.
And then you look at Skull and Bones, a game that lacked key features. Like, I went and looked at it, and people are still like, you've done all these updates, you still can't board enemy ships. You made a pirate game where you can't board an enemy ship. Like, this is Ubisoft. You guys invented that. That was the thing that people were raving about in Black Flag, and you didn't think to put that in your pirate game? The hell is wrong with you?
They also did it more recently with Odyssey. It worked in Odyssey really well.
Yes.
What are they doing over there? You're not wrong. It annoys me to no end, that whole thing. I wanted that game to be so good. I don't know if you guys know this, but I also have these same 10 companies, what their top selling game of the year was. And I'm curious if you'll know. So these would be 2023 sales numbers. That's important to note. Some of these are still ongoing games, but what do you think Sony's top game in the most recent census of that information, what do you think it was, if you had to guess? What do you think, John?
Their top game this year?
We're out in 2023.
So it would be a late 2023 title that sold well through this year.
Oh, what came out late 2023? I don't know. I don't remember what came out in 2023. I've been so focused on this year.
Marvel's Spider-Man 2.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
For Tencent, it's Honor of Kings. For Microsoft, it is, of course, Call of Duty Modern Warfare. Various iterations because they've owned it since then, so that counts. NetEase, it is Eggy Party.
Yeah, different kind of party.
Yeah.
Not at ease.
No, I don't know what that is. I'm sure it's some free to play thing, mobile or who knows in China, but that's their big one.
An adult game on Steam.
Could be. Nintendo, Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, easy answer. Electronic Arts, it was FC24, which is basically FIFA 2024.
Yep.
What they call FC now. There's a whole story with that. Let's see. Epic Games, that's a hard one. Fortnite, it's a rough one to remember, think about. Take-Two's was NBA 2K24. Those games are crazy to me because they sell extremely ridiculously well. It puts them in 8th place on this list. And every time you go look at reviews for these games on Steam or any other store, they're in the toilet, these reviews. And they're all just people who are mad about these little nitpicky things. But at the end of the day, it's like the best basketball game you can buy. It's just weird to me. Shanafan, keep quiet. I'll talk to you in Discord. All right. MiHoYo is the one that does Genshin Impact, and their big money maker was, of course, Genshin Impact. And in Roblox's case, their most sold played game,
stealing assets from everything else and giving it to children.
It's something called Brookhaven RP. I don't know what that is. It must be, like you said, I'm sure it's, let's see.
Probably.
I don't know. I could go ask my kids about it, and I'm sure they would tell me.
It says it is averages 600,000 concurrent players. Oh my gosh. It has bee swarm simulators, doors. I don't know what I'm reading. Hold on. Where is it? Brookhaven RP. Okay, so it's like a Skyrim-ish town, but it's all modern, sort of. I don't know, man. I don't get Roblox. Roblox and I do not hang out.
Don't go down the Roblox road.
I don't want to go there. Scamming and
just say no blocks to Roblox.
I like it. Our new phrase going into the new year. It's good. All right. Well, anyway, there's some interesting discussion there, of course. And we've got more on the way with this. All right. So let's talk about our year in Steam gaming. The reason we do this is Steam does a really great replay deal. Nintendo has a decent one. Sony and Microsoft kind of miss the boat on this every year. I don't know why they do that. I think they do have some kind of, you played this the most or something. But
they did it, but yeah, I also knew that it wasn't going to be interesting. Like that's part of it too, is like, you know, if all you play are Xbox games, I'm sure your Xbox year in review is pretty interesting to you. But I knew for us, the interesting one is going to be the Steam one. Yeah,
because we are all on Steam quite a bit. And if you play a lot of Steam games, then you are as well. So you've probably seen some similar things. Here's what blew me away about my numbers. This is just surface level stuff. But it says that I played 361 new games this year. Or games played.
That is absolutely insane.
It is insane.
We mentioned this. It's almost a new game a day. And when you count other sources, you easily played a new game every day.
Easily. There's no way I didn't. I'm sure it was more than that. And it says 70 games more than last year, which also is insane. So of the games that were new, they were 238 of those are brand new games, 6 of which were demos. I'm really low on the demos. Almost always full games. So here's what I think. I have a theory about this, and it just goes along. Well, it's just John's theory that I walk into there's this arcade downtown called Steam, and I walk in there with a handful of quarters, and I try everything. I honestly think that's what's going on here, because there were games I played more than others. I played Shapes 2 the most, but my total play time, it's only 10% of. Like, that's insane. I unlocked 641 achievements. Pretty good, although that's less than last year by 11.
I don't know if that's necessarily good, though. Well, do we want to all compare our numbers?
Yeah, let's do it.
Through this,
let's do it.
It's a little.
Beau, where's your link, Beau? I couldn't find yours. Do you have one handy?
I can share. Hang on, I'll just share it.
I've got John's here.
Mine was 92 new games played,
which is still a lot of games
played. It's a lot. Yeah, it is a lot.
Right,
67 new games, 7 demos.
Yeah.
So I feel like mine was very high, but reasonable. It wasn't a game a day.
No, but also your game you played the most makes sense to me. Final Fantasy, 14 online, 26% of your total playtime, 220 sessions. It doesn't say how long those sessions are, but sessions of time in that game, and that that doesn't surprise me. I expected like a quarter of your time might be in there because you're a big FF14 guy.
Yeah.
And again, none of this is going to count Fortnite. None of this is going to count Blizzard launcher games or any of that stuff. So this is just what we played on Steam. Sorry, you're going to ask something. Go ahead.
I'm just curious what Beau's at. Where are we at?
So
wait, real quick though, what I was going to say about achievements. I'm at 92 and I had 545 achievements.
Good Lord. So
I am not that far from you.
No. I
played significantly less games than you.
I get all the early achievements like you launched the game.
I saw the world.
I did the tutorial, like that kind of thing, I think is what this is.
Start.
So if I'd have gone deeper, I should be. So with that many games, I should be closer to many thousands of achievements if I had played them all through, But I did not. Beau, let's do a comparison here. 65 new games played. 42 of those were new. Nice number. 3 demos is all.
I played a lot of WoW this year, both classic and retail in 2024. So
yeah, those aren't reflected
numbers
here.
Suffered as a result. Yeah. It's been a WoW year for me. But,
big time WoW year. Me as well. But it's funny how I still managed to squeeze in like. I don't know what I was doing. It feels like
still like that. That 26% of Elden Ring playtime, considering my Path of Exile 2 was 6%, and that was about 100 hours.
Yeah,
that's like 26%. It's got to be somewhere in the 200 to 300 hour range. So it's still put a lot of time into.
So it's interesting about you and John's numbers. You're about the same on your breakouts, like 26% on your main. Yours was 26% for Elden Ring. Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, 10 and 15, but same game. Baldur's Gate 3 was John's third most played at 8%. You were at 8% on Dragon Age. So it's you guys had kind of similar layouts. Mine were weird. Shapes 2, Final Fantasy Online, 9%. Yep. What do you think of that, John? You like that?
I love that. Part of the reason I wanted to talk about this was let everybody see that Final Fantasy 14 Online was your second most played game of the year.
Yeah, and it was mostly
from Steam.
Yeah, and it was mostly on Steam Deck. Funny enough, I played a lot on my deck for that game, so that helped. And No Man's Sky was my third. Which didn't sound right to me because I just didn't feel like I played that much in No Man's Sky. But again, it's like, what's crazy is these medians. All right, so I unlocked 641 achievements. The Steam median is only 13.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
There's a lot of people that just open a Steam account to play one game, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
I know a few of them.
I mean, we're all in kind of the same boat.
They play Baldur's Gate 3, and that's the extent of their Steam usage.
Gorath played 65 games. Median is 4 games. I mean, gosh dang it. Your longest streak, Beau, is 33 days. The median is 6.
What was your longest streak, Scott?
27 days.
See, that's shocking to me because I feel like you would have launched Steam Deck every day. You were the one I was expecting to be closest to like 365 days, baby. I played Steam every day of the year.
I think
but you're 27 is the highest you were.
Yeah,
That's
and you were 80.
Me.
You were much longer at 80.
80. Yeah.
So Beau is closer to mine, but I think the reason Beau and I are not that far from each other, it's freaking WoW's fault.
Again, it's WoW. I've been playing classic WoW since about January. Like that was the start of the year kind of thing. So with WoW and Diablo 4, Vessel of Hatred was a big release this year as well. I put a lot of hours into that.
Yeah.
And so, not everything's on here.
No. There is the new, let's see, I like this stuff. The new recent and classic games, because this is always interesting to me because it gets to another point we're going to get to later in the show. 45% of new releases were what I played. 15% of playtime spent by all Steam users in new releases was only 15%. So new games in 2024, a percentage. How do I put this?
We can't infer that purchases weren't made. It's possible they bought a ton of shit.
Yeah, we don't know what they played.
50% of their hours played was spent in games released this year.
In John's case, 41%. In your case, 47%. We're all in the same range, really. So that's, I don't know, I just thought that was interesting on that bit.
I think oh, hang on, when you hover over the red.
Yeah, the red is 52% recent favorites for Beau. That means releases of the from 1 to 7 years in recency.
Yeah,
so and the last
47% of the percentage of playtime spent by all Steam users in releases from the 1 to 7 years.
Yeah.
So out of the entire Steam user base, half the time was in games older than 2024, up to 7 years old.
Yeah, anything 8 years or older, Beau just does not care about. Look at that shit.
But you have to look at
he's got nothing in classic games.
1%,
like, man.
Yeah.
But I'm actually kind of surprised because he spent a lot of time in Torment?
That's what I was about to say. I played actually a buttload of Planescape Torment, but I think it felt like a buttload at time. Hang on, 51 hours. That's not a buttload for what I usually knock out.
So John, that
50 hours is 1% makes sense for me. I think.
I thought I was going to be the leader here, just because I do I like going back to old shit all the time. So I thought, well, I'm going to cream John, but he actually beat me by a good 12%, 32%. John, was that all the Castlevanias and the collections?
Well, I don't know, because the collections should read when they came out.
Yeah, they wouldn't be.
What's the release date for Final Fantasy 14? Is it considered a classic game?
Probably, because you're right. 8 years. It's older than 8 years. So yeah.
So even though it feels true, because I played a ton of Castlevania this year, I played a ton of Mega Man this year, but I think it's actually Final Fantasy 14 propping it up.
Yeah, because those are going to count as new releases, like even if they're repackaged actual classic games.
Yeah.
If I'm just reading this rules as written.
Yeah.
Yeah. Rules as written. those are not considered classic games.
I think the point still remains that people are spending a lot of time, because it says 37%. So we have 40% in the 1 to 7 range and 37% in releases from 8 or more years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're, we talked about these AAAs and how things are going for them. So first of all, everyone's not happy. Not everyone, but a lot of people are critically, let's say, from critics and stuff, people are not super thrilled about consoles, even though they're fine and great and all that shit. A lot of people own their PCs, want that's all the brouhaha you hear about. For like the AAA experience type games, get them on PC. Even Sony's selling them on PC, and then you go to the PC, the marketplace, which is Steam, the behemoth.
Yeah,
and 70 to 80% of people are not playing much games released this year.
You're playing old stuff.
You're the AAA developer. Make something good that's going to rip people away from those old games. It's impossible because there's so much saturation. Everybody is going to play a game from 2 years ago that they got on the Steam sale. Like, there's no need. If you're in the Twitch streamer culture and you have to play a video game the same day your favorite streamer's playing it, you're in a minority. I think most people actually don't play those games, but even who are watching, I think they wait for a sale and then they play them. So if you just put a 2-year delay on all purchases and consider the stuff from 2 years ago brand new now, and you can pay $10 for it in a market where rents are going up, property taxes and shit are going up, groceries are expensive, I'm not buying no $100 game when there's $5 AAA games like every 6 months on Steam.
Mm-hmm.
That alone is reason enough. And then you wait to figure out which ones are critically called Game of the Year. Like maybe you weren't going to play Metaphor ReFantazio. Now it won Game of the Year. Now I can wait until it's $5 and play it. Because I got a shitload of other things to play. So I can wait.
Yeah.
The market is saturated AF. And I think this is a pretty big indication of that. If we looking at if these numbers are to be believed.
You can take that same model and apply it to consoles as well. They have stores full of stuff that's on sale or a little older and discounted as a result, or all those things, and they buy. Why wouldn't you do the same thing there? Like that's or you're just doing Game Pass because you're like, well, I just pay this one fee and I never buy a game.
I think what we're seeing here is like the reverse, the bite in the ass side of the internet and digital libraries, like why they like to do things like not planned obsolescence, but phony scarcity or whatever it is. They take things off the market or don't make them available. because if everything's in high def, remastered, or just looking good, an old movie is just a new movie you haven't seen. I watched The Thing for the first time in like 2020 or 2017, and it was fantastic. As if it had came out that year. It was so much, like, obviously stuff looked dated, but I had a great time. I didn't need to watch it the year it came out. And there's so many fantastic experiences, and tech is plateaued. There's no Doom game right now where it's like, shit, I got to throw out my $3,000 computer because it's not going to run Doom the Dark Ages, which was usually the feeling. It was like, oh, I can't run Wolfenstein on my 286. Like, I need to get a 386. Now Doom's out, and I need a 486. There's none of that now. So, you know, someone needs to, like, invent some new shit. If not, like, the money's drying up fast.
Yeah,
unless you're a service that hits.
For an industry that needs perpetual growth to show it on paper and to be publicly traded, this is at odds with that. No doubt about it.
Unless you're a service. I'm sure services are doing great.
That's
Mobile
why they all want it.
doing great.
Yeah. That's why they're all chasing that.
I think because gamers and people will spend money on the games even if they're not playing them or getting very low value out of them if they like them.
Yeah.
And that's, I think.
Yeah,
I think where the business is going.
Most of my buy it now or early money goes to indies. I rarely will do, like, look how hesitant I've even been to, like, go for Path of Exile 2. It's not because I don't think I'm going to play it. I think I 100% am, but I'm just like a little slower in that case. I can wait. It's not a big deal. But then I see
game's not going anywhere, and it's the worst version of the game that it'll be. So if you wait, it'll be better too. And then it'll be better later.
And when you're doing that stuff for little early access indies, you're having this direct conversations with them on their Discords or directly over Steam or whatever service you're using. They're like individuals. They're people you can talk to. There's real interaction going on as opposed to some big faceless company that I'm, pining for whatever their next hit is. So it's just things are weird. It's a weird time, man. You know what else is weird? These spider graphs. Let's look at these for a second.
Spider graph.
Spider graph does what a spider graph does. Check this out. Spider graph shows the kind of games you spent the most time in. I spent the most time clearly heavily in MMORPGs, automation, and farming sims. Very little in transportation, rogue deck builders, although I don't know why that's true because I played a lot of those. But also Dwarf is their joke, their meme option this year. Dwarf. I've also added 96 new friends. And I've only written one review during the entire year, so that's fun. And my discussion posts are usually like, how come my mouse quit working with this game? So there's only 2 of those. John, on the other hand, let's see here. Very heavily into the LGBTQ plus.
Damn, you play a lot of gay games.
Yeah.
You are a very open-minded gamer. He likes a lot of anime bullshit.
It's all Final Fantasy 14, I assume.
I know. I think Dragon Age queued that up in a large way.
Yeah,
I think that was. I think that was one of them. Wouldn't surprise me if Final Fantasy qualified. I don't know, but like
mine's pretty high too, John. But yours is like touching the edge, like it's almost breaking the ground.
I like to touch the edge of LGBTQ plus.
Yeah, he likes to
just the edge of it.
He's into edges.
I like to be.
Likes
there.
to edge. I get it. I totally get it.
It's my comfort zone, and that's where I'd like to be.
Yeah.
Also
Metroidvania.
deep in Souls-like.
Oh yeah, dude. Look at that. Yeah. I'm a little surprised that it's funny they put Warhammer 40K on yours as a category, and it's almost like it's trying to get away from that, even though I think Space Marine 2 is probably.
I think being on here as a category means like you engaged with it. So,
yeah.
But all I did this year was Space Marine. Like if I had played maybe some of the others that I got, although I think I played Bolt Gun too. But I didn't play a ton of it.
Except for Dwarf,
2
right?
Points of interest. One is if it appears or not. If it appears, it's already important to that person's profile.
Unless it's Dwarf. Dwarf doesn't count, right?
Well, I don't know.
No,
I'm sure there's something I probably played.
But everybody had Dwarf. Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. Beau doesn't have Dwarf on his. I thought that was a joke one.
He does. Yeah.
Doesn't show it. Oh, down here. Okay.
Yeah, it's just in a different spot.
I don't know. I think they're taking the piss with the dwarf. Is what I think.
Well, it's because there's probably dwarfs and everything. Like it probably is a bit of a joke, maybe. But I don't know. Okay, here's how we find out. We have a show lots of people listening, if you have a Steam replay that doesn't show dwarf, post it in Discord, in our core patron Frog Pants Discord.
Yeah, right? I need to know. I need
screenshot it and prove that.
Hey, I have. There's a news story about this. Steam officially adds dwarf tag. A Steam user took to social media to point out that Valve added a new dwarf tag that users can add to certain titles that feature the stout and bearded race. Some Steam titles that have dwarves in them as the main focus, such as Deep Rock Galactic, the Warhammer series, and Dwarf Fortress, were added to the new tag. So basically, if you play a game that has dwarves in it, it's under the dwarf tag.
Yeah, but I think they're showing it for everybody. I think that's the conspiracy. Like there isn't.
That's the conspiracy. Well, everybody. I mean, we all played Space Marine. That would have probably been flagged as. Or no, I guess there's no dwarves in Space Marine.
Yeah, as far as I know. Well, everybody but Space Marines are kind of short, I guess. But
I'm still wondering where my LGBTQ representation.
Hold on. Let's look up the dwarf tag. Let's see what's under there right now. Let's see what's under there that I played. Tag dwarf. 142 games in dwarf.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Okay, did I play any of these? Let's look at the top sellers of dwarf. You got Total War Warhammer 3. You've got Deep Rock Galactic. Now, we did play, all three of us played that this year.
We sure did. Yeah.
So that would have counted for all of us. Vermintide 2 counts. I don't know if we played that this year.
I did.
Baldur's Gate has it. So Beau and I played Baldur's Gate, so that would have counted towards it.
Sure. I did not though, so I'm trying to figure out where mine came from. I played a lot of Galactic this year, and I did play the what do you call it one? The Vampire Survivors like one. Played a bunch of that. Oh
yeah, there's the Deep Rock Galactic Survivor game. I played that this year. So yeah, I played several games that would have been under the dwarf tag.
Yeah, just if everyone's got it though, which is Beau's right, that's the conspiracy. If everyone has dwarf tag just because they have it, then I think they're
legitimacy of the dwarf tag. It was just, are they memeing on us because everyone's going to see dwarf on their spider chart, regardless of how big or small it is, like just because it's a dwarf themed.
Yeah.
Thing.
Plus, I wish Steam would let me list these by games I own, and they don't, because they'd rather me buy things. They're not interested in my data. All right. Well, it's interesting nonetheless. I noticed you had a lot of Metroidvania too, John. I think that's great. Big fan.
Makes sense. Played a lot of Castlevania games. A lot of the Mega Man games fall into that category too. So.
Now, Beau, you're the lord of reviews. You only did 5, but that's 4 more than John or I did. Well, see, John did 2. You know, John did 2. Sorry.
I do a show, and people, I've got more friends on there. They probably want to see it. And then I did the Space Marine 2 review, and I don't think I'll ever write one again.
You'll take a
That's where he earned some of those badges, right? You earned 4 badges. Oh, actually, I earned more badges. What did I earn? How did I earn more badges?
Yeah. That's one of the most viral things I've done, aside from the D4 like hardcore climb. But it was all on Steam, and it was luckily it was pretty 50-50. Some people like, get good and you suck, here's your clown award. And other people being like, thank you for letting me know about this game, I won't play it. That makes me feel bad a little bit, but also I was pretty mad at the game. But I did promise to go back and play it after some updates.
Yeah.
And change my review if they fixed the control.
Have they done that yet? Or have you checked to see if they've done that?
I haven't checked it yet.
Okay. They have made it significantly better. Beau should try it again.
Yeah. We're probably due, but as we said, I've got 500,000 games. Will I ever get to play Space Marine 2? I don't know. I'm so buried in games at this point.
It does say that you played as much Helldivers 2 as you did Path of Exile 2. 6% of your total playtime.
Yeah, that was a phenomenal period of time. And I feel bad not playing Helldivers 2 because I like it so much. But
yeah. Now let's see. Oh, this is interesting. 51% of Gorath's playtime was with a controller, which is maybe surprising to some because it's Beau and he's a big keyboard mouse guy.
I think Yakuza and probably Dragon Age inflated those.
Dragon Age, Elden Ring. I'm a controller user for like third person. It doesn't require skill.
Oh my gosh, you had to say that, didn't you? You had to poke that in there.
I'm not trying to throw shade. I'm just being honest about my evaluation. Is that like, do I need fine control, precision control? No. I can comfortably play this and not worry too much, controller it is.
Yeah. I mean,
if I'm playing a MOBA, if I'm playing an FPS shooter, if I'm playing something where I want fine precision control, let's just say it's because I'm bad with fine precision control on a controller. If we're going to be like,
yeah, we can flip it. Yeah, you can flip it. But I think sometimes some games just play better with controllers, though. Sometimes they're just better. Analog sticks, better fine control than you get with a keyboard, which is on or off.
Even if it's just a port, like obviously, like Elden Ring, I play with a controller, and that's a game that requires fine precision control, but it is designed with controller in mind, and I think plays better with the controller. So I think it's like third. I guess I just don't really respect third-person action games.
I love this so much. I love this so much.
Yeah. I just don't think of them as like, oh, skill game. Like, but when I play a MOBA, I'm like, oh, if I'm going to kill people, I have to be better than them. I have to be good.
Yeah, no, I get it.
I'm not going to achieve that with a controller, and that's why my comments come out the way they do.
Yeah, for the record, I think Beau does not necessarily
not
speak
putting
for all
down
of us.
Anybody. Like nobody like just
the views of Beau Schwartz does not fully reflect the views of all members of CORE.
Well, that's always been the case, but I'm not putting down anybody. Like it's just how I feel about it. It's like if I feel like that I have fine skill control with mouse and keyboard.
Well, here's the irony of all of that, because I'm a big controller fan, and I'm a Steam Deck user, and I use my Steam Deck a lot. 51% of Gorath's time on a controller, 35% for me. It's actually a lesser percentage for me. I played, and my games are wildly different. I played a lot of Final Fantasy 14 on controller, 14% of it. No Man's Sky, Wayfinder, Star Trucker, and Helldivers 2 were my big time consumers, which is weird to me because that doesn't sound right. But some 146 games as opposed to Beau's 11. So that's just nuts.
It's the 11. It shows you all 11 games I played with the controller.
It just tells you had 11 games total that you played with controller, and I played 146 total games with a controller.
Yeah, it's like for me, it's usually a deliberate decision. Like, do I want to sit in the comfy chair? Is this a chill game? Do I care about the outcome of my performance?
I love it so much. You should never back down from this weird
position. Only 11 games, but I'm not standing up or anything. I'm being honest about how I think.
Look, nobody goes to a fighting game tournament and says, I'm going to get on a keyboard and mouse because that's where the precision players play. Nobody does that.
No, well, it's true. I would pick the optimal tool, and for a fighting game, if I want to get into it, I would play with the controller. I agree.
All right. John, you've got 54% of your playtime was with a controller.
Yep.
Big ones Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth, Metaphor Refantasio, and Dragon Age right around the same, 13%, 9% in Elden Ring, and then a whole bunch of Mega Man, which I was hoping would show up in here.
Yep, Mega Man X. That's a controller game. All the Castlevanias, those were controller games. Lots of controller games.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. Which brings us to...
There's nothing wrong with the controller. Don't send emails.
No, controllers are great. Don't send your emails. Okay, I wanted to show this because the streaks are interesting. Let's start with John's because we were already there. So, John, you, during the time of Monday, June 3rd, through...
Where were you from Monday, June 3rd to Thursday, August 22nd?
Yep, the 22nd of August, you played a wild list of games, like a whole bunch of stuff. There's more here than even this will show. This just shows a grid of what is it, 16? Whatever it is.
Yeah.
And it's wild. Dragon Age Origins, Final Fantasy 14, Warframe 1999, or I think that's just Warframe.
Yeah, that was just Warframe.
Bunch of Midnight Suns.
They've updated their art.
I mean, you got a lot in here, dude. And this goes, there's
it was during my Path of Exile time, so I was logging in a lot to play that. I was playing a lot of, people were gifting me stuff. Shatterproof was gifting me a lot of games because I see a lot of stuff that Shatterproof gifted me during this window. I was playing through Baldur's Gate. I was trying to get Dragon Age games to run. I was going to play through the whole series. That's how excited I was for Veilguard.
Yeah.
So I was going to play through all of them, and then I kind of hated the PC version of all the Dragon Age games for some reason or another.
Yeah.
and didn't end up playing any of them.
They kind of look like ass up close.
Origins flat out. I mean, go watch. I think it was Josh Strife Hayes recently did a thing about Dragon Age Origins.
Yeah.
And he lays out like this game's PC version is hot garbage. It has a lot of technical problems, and getting it to run on modern hardware is a nightmare. And that's basically what I ran into. And then when I got into it, it's a game that looks an awful lot like Baldur's Gate 3 and does not play like Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah.
So you're like, oh, right. Okay, I'll play it like Baldur's Gate 3. Well, it doesn't play that way.
No.
It plays very different and not great. So it's very hard to go back to. Dragon Age 2 is that awkward era where BioWare was like, nobody has a controller for the PC. So instead of plugging in your controller and having the console experience with Dragon Age 2, you have to make do with a mouse and keyboard setup that is not ideal for that game. So it plays like garbage.
Yeah.
And Dragon Age Inquisition worked okay, but
it's Inquisition.
Yeah, it's that Inquisition's in a weird middle ground where it's trying to pretend to be Origins, but trying to pretend to be an action game at the same time.
Yeah.
And it's, I had a lot of bad things to say about Veilguard. I'm glad they picked a lane. It might not have been the lane I wanted them to pick, but at least they picked the lane and stuck to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I agree.
Good on them for just committing to it one way or another.
What's interesting is during our streak periods, mine's March through April, which makes sense because that's when I went to Vegas and broke my streak. But I played 42 different games, everything from tiny little things to old things to new things, everything in between. Beau, I think, shows you are a focused gamer. And I mean this as a compliment. During your longest streak, June through July, was basically a little more than a month, 8 games. You lock in and you finish things.
So it's actually 6 games because Baldur's Gate 3 and Doom Eternal are for multiplayer Sundays. So that's just like 2 hours on Sunday for those games.
Got it.
So it would mean that 33-day streak, I was locked into 6 games.
Right. And those were mostly Elden Ring.
Probably it was if it was Elden Ring. If this was July, when did Erdtree come out? It was in the summer, right?
Yeah, that would have been Erdtree, sure.
So I would have been playing Erdtree, and I was probably switching from Like a Dragon to Elden Ring during that period. Oh, and Farthest Frontier. Usually, when I get into that game, that's like a good 40 to 80 hour like streak of playing that.
Yeah.
So it's probably those 3 games in particular. I think Wolfenstein and Doom was probably just like a day or 2, if I recall correctly, of just needing to play a shooter. So getting into them, and then Hades was probably something similar. Maybe a day of that, but the majority of it would be those 3 games in 33 days. Yes, all I've done in the past 2 weeks, spoiler for games we played, I just played Path of Exile another 100 hours. Path of Exile 2, another 100 hours this week.
Good Lord.
I'm like your complete opposite when it comes to that. Like I get like hyper fixated on a game, and
see, I think that's great. Hyperfixation and I are the worst. We're the worst. We don't hang out with each other very much. Yeah. Me and hyperfixation. What's weird is at the very bottom of this, you have other replay pages. You have 2022. I have 2020, 2023. John has nothing. And I don't know why.
On my screen, it shows 2022, but it doesn't have anything else.
Oh, yours.
But I know I did 2023 because I remember we talked about it last year.
So I don't understand why I see Beau's, but not yours.
My 20. It's funny. I only see 22 for my own.
Yeah.
23. So it's probably just janky.
All right, something's broken.
The grid view for the if it does timeline view by default, but the grid view is kind of interesting because this just flat out lays out where you spent most of your time.
Yeah.
In a big long page. Yeah. Here's where you can see what games dominated your time.
Yeah.
2022 was awesome. 2022 is going to be like hopefully my 2025.
Oh yeah? What about it?
It was early access games that I need to play in 1.0. Top 2 games were Valheim and V Rising.
Oh wow!
And V Rising is in 1.0, and I'm just waiting, for a good window to just sink my teeth into V Rising.
For sure.
And hopefully Valheim hits 1.0 this freaking year already. Gosh dang it! So I can get a server going because that game's awesome.
Here's one other bit that neither of you have because you're not playing the way I'm playing, but the more than one device data is interesting. the vast majority is still Windows, just standard Steam. But Steam Deck is 33% of my playtime, as opposed to 46% of the other. And then the remaining is on my Mac, 21% of stuff I do on a Mac. And that's just like, my meeting games, like what's the one with the loop hero? I was going to say, which is the one where the hero loops around the screen? It's the loop hero. I play that one a lot on there, games like that. So actually, I'm not too surprised. What's interesting is number of games played, though. 212 games on Windows, 245 on Steam Deck. So more on Steam
Yeah,
Deck.
that really tells me where your experimental place is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you use the Steam Deck to try out a bunch of stuff.
Right. Yeah, for sure. 100% I do. Because I'll get a code, like an email will show up and go, hey, try our game. I'm like, cool, I'll just do it while I'm up here. I don't have to go make a big deal out of it. And I'll try it there. In total, 242 games on there, 33% of my playtime. It's interesting, though, the top 5 here are Final Fantasy, No Man's Sky, Fallout 4, Farming Simulator 2, Farm Together 2, and Assassin's Creed Odyssey were my my tops. That's a weird thing because I barely remember playing Odyssey this year, but I guess I played a bunch of it.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's interesting.
I remember you talking about it.
Yeah.
I do.
Pretty wild stuff. By far, my biggest demo was where'd demo go? Was Shapes 2. 95% of my time.
You played that like a full release.
Yeah, I love that game. And the release is even better. It might be on a list next week. Oh, Beau has disappeared from his chair when I came back. He's not there anymore. That's perfect timing.
Checked out.
Perfect timing, because that's basically our list. John, anything you want to add or mention here before we move on from our...
No. It was a fun year for games. We'll get into that next episode. Our game of the year is actually going to be in the beginning of next year. We're going to let the full year go by before we get into it. I've been putting my stuff together for it.
Same. Yep.
So I think it's going to be an interesting year for sure. I think last year we all just sort of agreed Baldur's Gate 3 was our game of the year.
Yeah.
So I'm really curious what we're going to determine is CORE's collective 2024 game of the year, because I think we might all have different ideas on what that is.
Yeah, last year was almost too easy. This year is extremely difficult to land on the same title, I think.
Yeah.
Although I think you and I might be close on one of them.
It could be. Yeah.
I mean, that one's already my pick, and I'm not even done with it yet. I got to some weird shit last night in that game.
Did you get to the big head? Is there a big head?
There's a big head.
Yeah.
I'm past that now, and the big head freaked me out, and now I got the stone thing to deal with. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It gets pretty crazy. And there was a death I didn't expect, and it really bummed me out.
Yep.
Yeah.
Painful death, because
Yeah.
I was like, it was like one of those classic tropes where you're like, I really like this character.
Yeah.
Oh crap! All right.
There is even part of me where I was like, you're not going to be here forever, are you? I just kind of had a feeling, especially when I don't want to give anything away. That game's worth playing and not having anything spoiled. But yeah, there's a big head.
There's a big head.
Big head of the year, probably. If we did that award at the end of the year, big head of the year.
It's definitely the biggest head of the year.
It's the biggest head I've ever seen, and I have to wear hats custom made, and I have a big head.
Yeah.
But this head, very big, and also look like a scab. Anyway, all right, we're going to do this now, and Beau will be here in a minute to commentate on it, perhaps. Perhaps not. Who knows? But here we go. Whoops, why won't it play? A correction from last week. John, Marvel versus Capcom. Tell me the deal here. What happened with that?
I messed up last week. Well, there was a thing that I wasn't planning on talking about, but it came up during the conversation, and I mentioned last week that Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, I said that they were putting out an update to the game. Turns out, no. They, being Capcom, are not putting out an update to the game. I don't know. As many of you might know him, a YouTuber named Maximilian Dude. If you follow fighting games, you might have seen him on YouTube or heard about him.
Love it.
Is kind of heading up a mod for Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite Beyond, which is an update. And basically the principle is he loves the game, but he thinks the game looks like garbage and it didn't get enough attention. because of how it looked. They went for a very, Marvel versus Capcom has a history of being an animated. They went 3D, and they kind of tried to MCU style everything that was in it. And I completely agree with him. It looked like garbage. That's why I didn't play it, despite liking a lot of the characters in it. I thought the game looked bad. I'll talk about it more in what I've been playing, but basically the idea is I said that Capcom was putting out an update. Let that be a note of how good of work they're doing, because it's not. It's an unofficial mod. But it looks absolutely incredible. I had a bunch of people tell me that it's a mod, so I figured I would point it out here for those who didn't know. Nice.
That's good to know. I had nobody asked that I know of. I think people just assumed what you said was correct, because John is always right about most things.
No, not true.
But you're always ready to correct the record when needed. So there we go, fixed.
Yeah, I wanted to give that a proper shout out, especially because if a company's doing it, good on them. But if people are putting their blood, sweat, and tears and passion into a project like this, they absolutely deserve it. And I read that the game saw a 2,000% increase.
Oh my!
In players.
Jeez.
The Beyond mod leads to a 2,000% increase in players for the game.
Wow.
So hey, if you want to know the importance of art in a video game, changing the art, and it added new modes and that, it's more than just a graphic update, but talk about renewing interest in a game based on a mod. That's crazy good.
It's funny. I'm not going to talk about it in particular, but I played Street Fighter Alpha 3 from 1998 this week.
Oh yeah.
I don't know why. I just got in this weird mood. I was like, I finally got PlayStation working on my Steam Deck. I was having issues, and I was like, what do we want to test this with? And I tried some sports games and a couple other things, rally game. And I went, you know what? How's Street Fighter Alpha 3 looking these days? Because I used to think that game was mind blowing in terms of its animation and just like sprite work and stuff. Like, forget about the fighting mechanics. I'm sure they're still great, but I was just like, man, that was as beautiful as they ever got with that series before they went 3D. And sure enough, still gorgeous. Got my ass handed to me, but it was fun. I shouldn't have picked Ken. He's a dick. Anyway, moving on.
Mm-hmm.
We all agree. Ken's a dick, right? No one likes Ken. Is Ken all right? Do people like Ken?
Yeah.
No?
Yeah. He's no Dan, that's for sure.
He is no Dan. I am no Dan. All right. Bad news. Beau, you'll hate this story.
Great.
In fact, you found it. But Deadspace 4 plans were shot down by EA earlier this year. There was a big proposal. They said no. How do you feel about that?
Yeah. Well, just mainly mentioning it just because it's nice to see the people who want to make Dead Space still willing and wanting to.
Yeah.
And EA, unfortunately, just for whatever reason, not being interested in Dead Space, even though they just released a pretty good Dead Space.
I think the reason is probably money, and I've heard multiple times that while that thing was adored by both fans and critics as a remaster, that it did not sell enough for them to be convinced.
It's just not FIFA.
Yeah, it's not FIFA.
Maybe if they made it FIFA Space, then they could sell.
FIFA money is big money, or whatever it's called now, FC money. It's not FIFA.
We need to start having an IP draft where companies can trade IPs, because I feel like if
give it to someone who deserves it.
Give it to Capcom, and we would be eating nicely at the table of Dead Space. Yeah. Like Capcom feels like, all right, great, we'll put it in the RE engine that does everything, and we will just keep making Dead Space games. We're happy to do it. Absolutely, we'll do it for you, and they'll turn it into a profit, no problem.
Cosign.
And I don't know what EA gets in return. They can make another football game, I guess. They can make another the football, and be happy.
That's another thing that irritated me this week. I played NFL 2K and 2K1 on the Dreamcast. They were the first true challengers to the Madden throne back in the day, those 2K games, and they're amazing. 2K still holds up. It's so much freaking fun to play that football game, and they went on to keep making them because EA and 2K had licenses for NFL and Players Association stuff. And then they got to 05. And in 05, 2K05 was maybe the greatest football game ever made. It made Madden look like shit. Their time was up. They were out. What did EA do? Bellied up enough money to get exclusivity to the licenses, which meant that 2K couldn't do it anymore, and then locked in their dominance as the stupid maker of football games forever. Now, I know we're not always talking about sports games on here, but I do like good sports games. 2K5 was amazing, and they took it from us. Those dicks. I never really forgave them for that. Like, you know, good on them for making a great remake of Dead Space. Good on them for not tying Dragon Age 4 with a bunch of bullshit online features and micro. You know, good on them for trying a little bit to pull away from the EA mistakes. But you'll never find a way to get me to forgive you for taking away football. Because it was so good. 2K5 was so good.
No, you're 100% right. It was a dumb way to do it.
Oh, such a game.
Like rather than make your game better, just eliminate the competition is, you know, it's a business move, but it's an asshole move.
Never be happy about that. What else? Skibidi Toilet and Plunger Man plop into Fortnite.
Although I don't think this is necessarily timely because I think they might be out of Fortnite as of today.
Oh, it's a quick one, eh? Fast little deal.
Oh,
well, you know, limited scarcity, right? Yeah.
Well, they ran out of pixels to sell.
Yeah.
But this
I hate it so much, dude.
this was a thing. It's a thing in there. I
put
did
this in there
add
because
though.
I know you like Fortnite, and you're always putting in when cool things are in there. So I thought I'd just troll you a little bit and say, like, are you looking forward to your Skibidi Toilet game?
Well, I knew something good had to happen because the universe had to write itself somewhere, right? It's like, okay, well, this is what's getting put in there. So how is the universe going to balance itself when Skibidi Toilet gets put in it? And then they added a bunch of cyberpunk stuff to the game. I was like, oh my gosh. Mm-hmm. Oh, thank God. So now, and so before, and we had talked about them putting cyberpunk stuff in the game, I thought it was just going to be the car. But no, I got my Johnny Silverhand skin, the second Keanu that exists in the world of Fortnite, because John Wick is also in there. So you've got two Keanus now.
Yep.
They put V in there. I was a little surprised because, you know, they try to keep it somewhat kid friendly for Fortnite to a degree.
Yeah.
But Johnny comes complete with a nuclear bomb and a backpack as his back bling that you can put on him.
Holy shit.
So yeah, the full-on terrorist gear in there.
This kid's a cyberpunk.
Is there a penis? Is there a penis slider in the character
Those kids
creator?
can buy guns with the vending machine.
Yeah.
Can I slide my penis though on V? My V penis slider? No? Maybe?
No, it's Lady V. And the one thing I do like is, so, you know, usually when they do these skins, it's like, okay, they get something that goes on their back. They get something that is a weapon that they hit that takes over the pickaxe, because it looks stupid if Johnny Silverhand's hitting stuff with a pickaxe.
Yeah.
So he got a katana. He got the Arasaka katana thing. But V got the mantis blades. And on most characters, they look like big old gauntlets that have mantis blades on them. They look stupid. But the V skin actually does do the arm splitting apart thing to have the mantis blades come out, which is nice. So, yeah, I spent money on Fortnite. Won't surprise anybody.
Oh, you already, okay. And how limited is this? Like, what was your window to grab these?
They're still in there. I think you've got like a week or so.
Okay. So how they do it typically is just a quick little week, 2 week thing? Or
usually if it's a partnership, it'll be in the store for a lot longer and then they'll recycle it. There are some things that are in there for a very limited time. So like, I know there was a big to-do because Arcane came back as a TV show and they had Arcane characters in... or League characters in Fortnite, but it's only been in there once and it didn't come back. So sometimes they really are exclusive. But yeah, it's who knows? Who knows how long it'll be before they're back in the store, but for right now, you can get Cyberpunk stuff.
I can tell you who I want in there. Who's the Atom Smasher? Can I get him? She's not available.
No, Adam Smasher.
That's too bad. I know.
There's a beepable piece of meat.
Yeah, that would be. There's your voice line.
Yeah,
Your
his emote.
You walk by, you look like a beepable cut of meat.
Yep. And then he'd hump the air or something like that. It'd be his emote dance.
Yeah, it'd be his emote.
Great.
Yeah, I have Fortnite. I still play it. I don't talk about it every week because there's not a lot to talk about, but it is still a fun game with the family. And I think my favorite thing about it is when all four of us play together, we win almost every time we play. Really is a family
that's awesome.
bonding thing.
I think that's awesome. If you are winning with
together.
your family team, that is actually awesome that you do.
Yeah, it doesn't happen all the time because you play with kids. They play like kids sometimes, which isn't to say bad, like they're good, but they do like to run into us as the parents with cars.
Yeah.
Which can, it's not super fun when your own team is constantly bumping you with a car because it makes them laugh.
Yeah, but they're rebelling.
There's a tolerance for that, right?
It's a young rebellion move. They have to rebel when this is normal.
Usually when we come together, we triumph as a family, and that feels very good.
That's great. I love that. All right. What else we got here? Beau, let's talk about Rocksmith 2014. Why do people love it, and why is it coming back?
Because it's good. Well, I think, there's more to it than that. So Rocksmith 2014 came out. It is a useful tool, works really well. I mean, honestly, it's an exemplary piece of software. I know it is a game, considering there are mini games in there, and it's designed to help you learn guitar or just to get you back into it. I love Rocksmith. Rocksmith is amazing.
Yeah.
And, they had things like if you bought the first one, and then you bought the second one, now called Rocksmith 2014, all your songs from the first one carried over, right?
Okay.
And then there's like 1,500 DLCs for Rocksmith that you could have purchased over the years. So they delisted all of this a few years ago because of this new Rocksmith Plus, because everything's got to have a subscription fee. And here's the disappointing part. Rocksmith Plus comes out. I pay the $20 to get in and check it out. It's not as great of a client. It works a little better with some audio devices and stuff, which is a good thing because 2014 is a little outdated on that front. But apart from that, the song selection's terrible. Because now they're just relying on subs, so whatever money they get is whatever they can spend on the catalog, which I'm guessing isn't a lot. Because it's one thing to buy a game and say, or buy a training. We all buy these things like, I've got a Korean workbook here. At some point I'll get to it, but I haven't yet, So I'm like, I have this other book here that I'm going to get to. We buy a lot of things intending to learn, but don't have the time. But we just bought it once, so no big deal, and we still have it. But now you're asking me to pay a sub fee for something that, I'm not going to use religiously necessarily, right? And in the saturated market. And it is practice. It's not gaming like, I'm going to play something like purely fun. There's some effort involved in practice. You got to be like, I've got to sit down and do my practice. So I don't think it was a smart business model. It's not like buying Spotify music and getting the whole catalog, especially when the catalog sucks. And half of the songs on there were tabbed. The tab is like the tablature is like the music you follow when you're playing by, I guess it's an AI or some sort of procedural software. And so it's not even all that accurate. So the quality of the product and the other thing is 2014 has a modder scene where people take unlicensed music and, because we figure out how to do everything with games, right? Mm-hmm. So you can go get a bunch of unofficial songs and tablature to mod into your game, right? Like if they don't have AC/DC, there's whole places you can go to get like the AC/DC songs and get whatever you want. I haven't done that stuff, but I do have a mod that helps me use my audio interface and fixes some problems. So I am a mod enjoyer in Rocksmith. So there's a whole scene devoted to 2014. It's like asking people who really like World of Warcraft to go over and play Rift. Except it's the same company trying to make a worse, and shitify and make a worse version of the product. Now, what happened, what I was so joyous about, is that they put what I perceive to be an acknowledgement that this is the case. They put Rocksmith 2014 back on the Steam store for purchase. So they walked back that shit. I'm now anticipating Rocksmith Plus closing down. So that's good. That means more people. I can recommend Rocksmith 2014 to people again, and they can enjoy it. And I didn't lose access to it. However, they are taking some songs away. So I don't know how they negotiated their license, but it really sucks to pay like $2 to $5 per song on the DLC front and not have it in perpetuity.
Yeah.
You know, whereas like if I bought it on Apple, I'd have it forever. It's not a rental. So I think it was just the Rocksmith One songs, but I'm not sure. I haven't logged in to check the damage yet. I just found out about this today. But I still overall consider it a win that it's a win that they've acknowledged at Rocksmith 2014. There's still a demand for it, even though it's now 10 years old, and put it back on the market. And that it's a sign that, you know, confirmation that the 2014 direction was better than the subscription product. And maybe if Ubisoft can please get their shit together, or just sell a Rocksmith franchise to someone else, and get those devs over there and usher in a proper new 2025 version or 2026 version, that we can have that. Yeah, that'd be great.
All right.
Now, as people are talking in the chat room, just Dr. Calhoun's like, Rocksmith's more guitar teaching app. It's true. It has teaching tools in it, but it actually has games. Like it has a zombie shooter and these other sort of video games that help you learn, but are also games. So it is a teaching tool, but you're meant to have fun while doing it. Because if you're just practicing, you don't need a video game for that with guitar. I mean, that's how I learned how to play. You can just sit with your tablature and struggle. So, you know, and as someone who can play already, I don't use it as much for learning as I just use it for practice. It's just fun to have a crowd cheer you on and have the video game go, yeah, and like to have the notes go like light up because you've successfully like timed the solo and stuff. So I definitely play it more for its video game features than for the learning features. But if you can't play guitar, it is definitely, I think, a lot more fun than trying to learn it yourself in a room, and cheaper than a tutor.
Yeah. And they can use some goodwill over there. So this is one vector of goodwill they can create by bringing back a thing everyone loved. Even if it's a small group, even if it doesn't mean a ton of money, that's not a big revenue chain. Just do some good stuff around that. Get some Ubisoft goodwill going because they are rapidly running out.
And don't sub to Rocksmith Plus. They're probably shutting it down.
Goodbye, Rocksmith Plus.
Whoa, 2 stars. Yeah, it's, oh my God, on Steam it's mostly negative and all reviews overwhelmingly negative.
Damn. Well,
yeah, people hate it.
Well, there you have it then. Don't ruin your products, is what we're saying. All right. Well, that's all she wrote for that. We're going to take a break. When we come back from said break, time for a Dear Martha. We got our week in gaming, some of the games we've been playing, and your feedback and more. So stick around. We'll be right back. Yes, we're back. Hey, everybody, we're back. And you know what that means? It's time for a Dear Martha. Yes, that's right. John will improv his way through riding home from the war front to Martha at home, keeping the homestead alive. And today we have a request from listener. Let's find his name. It is Cornwall the Fourth. He says it's his name.
Oh, wow.
That's intense, right?
Cornwall. Okay. Yeah.
Actually, I was going to tell you, I knew a guy in high school, Beau. You were talking about Rocksmith. Had a friend in high school. His name was Andrew Smith, but his that was his middle name was Andrew, and he went by that. But his real name was Rockford Smith. So his name, and we would have called him Rock for short, probably. So he would have been called Rocksmith. Think of that.
Oh, shit. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's a cool name. I wonder why he made the decision to not.
I think because his
probably
parents
wanted to fit in, because Rockford he probably hated.
Yeah, his dad named him after the Rockford Files, Jim Rockford.
His parents are so mean.
Yeah. So.
I named my kid after Hamilton, so, you know, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
But at the same time, like it's what all parents do to a degree. I've got plausible deniability. Alexander, not exactly an uncommon name.
No.
So, I can tell whatever story I want.
Yeah.
Just like how, you tell stories about your old handles back in the day. Stupid internet handles you had. It's like,
my dumbest
make up a different reason.
My worst one was Buddy Pickle, and the reason it was stupid is because it sounds stupid, but also it was named after a random CEO I found in a Fortune magazine. His name was Buddy Pickle. And I went, that's a guy's real name? No way. So for all my Quake, Unreal, like those days, my shooter clan days, I was Buddy Pickle that whole time. It's so stupid now. But one of my favorites was Peeps Darius, and that was during my Tony Hawk phase.
Peeps Darius. That's who you were in whenever we played Grand Theft Auto together, and it always cracked me up.
Any game like that where there's like a little attitude, I always pull out the Peeps Darius just because it feels like it fits. All right. Now, time to do this. So, here's what he said.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know what I'm doing.
I should probably tell you what we're doing. The prompt is this. I wonder how he would explain to the home front how well video games are selling and doing critically, yet everyone seems to be either closing or laying off huge swaths of people. How would he help Martha make sense of that, says Cornwall IV. Well, John, it's your job to do that, so let's give it a shot. I have faith in your ability to pull this off, and here it is.
My dearest Martha, I write to you because I've been transferred. I'm now with the Concord Battalion. And Martha, I got a good feeling about this group. It's an eclectic group of characters, a little weird, but, I think an acquired taste. Here's the deal, though, Martha. We have the backing of Sony. We're going to have the feature trailer at the Video Game Awards. We're going to have a short film that's going to premiere on Amazon. And in addition to that, Martha, we're part of the hero shooter genre. A genre that people have said is simply too big to fail. I think we're really going to make it, Martha. I got a good feeling about this. Yours in this life and the next. Red Shirt 52.
All right. You deserve credit, too, for the name because a red shirt would think they're going to be fine.
They always do.
Yeah.
They always think it's going to work out good.
Yeah. That's what red shirts do.
It was a little off prompt, but
I liked it.
That was what I thought.
I liked it. Look, in a world where we're all kind of tired of that conversation, not tired of it, but it's sort of depressing that they continue to have massive profits and yet lay people off, and that whole part of this business. I liked your that was a take I liked. You didn't like make us sadder. You just you made me smile. And that's all I really wanted today was a smile. All right. Let's get into today's.
It's really sad if you unpack that sentence.
We're going to get into the games that we played this week.
You were almost a Jill sandwich.
Here's what we played this week. I got busy with some games.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I ended up picking up because it's on sale a little bit, and also there's a big hole to fill in my Dead Cells world where the Dead Cells devs made a new game, and it's in early access. It's currently only $19.99, and I thought, you know what? Everybody's been yelling at me about it. The reviews are off the charts. Maybe I just need to see what Windblown is all about. And so I downloaded and installed Windblown. And Windblown, it turns out, might be the next great turn that off. The next great roguelike action game of the century. I don't know. Maybe not that good, but it's pretty damn close for me. This is them. So, Dead Cells, 2D, pixely art, kind of reminiscent of your Castlevanias and that sort of thing. And it's fantastic. Everyone loves that game. One of the great roguelikes of all time. Same team. Turns out they know what they're doing. And they made a isometric 3D game called Windblown that, like I said, is still on early access, although it feels very finished and polished and runs beautifully on my Steam Deck as well as on my desktop. And it is a roguelike with a new perspective, but a lot of it will feel like this game, because they are doing some things here that are new, but also some things that are borrowed or brought forward rather from their own Dead Cells. And mostly that comes in the form of how weapons are acquired, how you decide what you want to carry with you, what you might want to swap out in the middle of a run, that kind of thing. As you remember in Dead Cells, you might get to a place where a new weapon is available, and you're like, well, do I want to equip that to on your controller to X or Y and replace the nunchucks that were there before, or the ranged weapon that's a little less powerful? And this, you have to kind of gamble there a little bit and go, well, I really like the range, but the damage on this slow sword is awesome, so I think I'm going to swap that out. You also have trinkets that work like the previous system did, where in the previous system you could set up a little turret, or you could have a little robot that ran around with you and shot stuff, or something that shoots ice and freezes everybody or whatever. It's similar to that, and you can have up to 2 of those. So that weapon system is just about straight lifted from Dead Cells, and I'm celebrating that, because I think that was one of the strengths of that game. That felt really good, and unlocking them and that sort of stuff. There's some similarities there, but that's where the similarities kind of end. The moment-to-moment gameplay is obviously not two-dimensional. You're in 3D now, and you have unlimited dash. Your dash is very important and key to the game, and you're constantly dashing to avoid projectiles and boss moves and things like that, like you might expect. And it's just really satisfying movement. The game is also, the whole world looks like a bunch of floating islands, a la like what was the Hades guy's first game?
Bastion.
Yeah.
Kind of has a Bastion vibe to that. Just, in the way that the world sort of looks. A little more dynamic than that, but the biomes are a bunch of floating platforms, and you dash between these platforms just to get around, and it's wildly entertaining just moving around. Like, just getting from place to place feels so good. If you're watching the video version of the show, you're seeing some of this now. If you are listening to audio, I highly recommend seeking out some YouTube gameplay or something, if you don't already have the game. And when you get to bigger islands, that's usually where the fights will happen. And when the fights are over, you'll get boosts and abilities and drops. And these are kind of random and never the same. The layouts are never the same either. So a lot like the original game, a lot of procedural generation happening here, which makes it feel fresh every time you go out and fight. And you go back, you have a kind of a camp back at home that when you go back, you immediately throw up, because there's a whole story reason that you barf every time. I don't want to get into it yet, or I don't want to spoil it, because it's actually kind of fun to see it for the first time. But in that place, you have abilities unlocked that now you have access to, and new vendors, and some of that was unlocked out in the world. Again, a lot like Dead Cells. Like, they're taking a lot of the template of Dead Cells and saying, let's move this into 3 dimensions. Let's make the movement and the gameplay a lot more dynamic, but really the kind of underpinning skeletal, or as Beau would say, skeletal underpinnings are very Dead Cells, to the game's benefit. I think this is actually good for the game. I'm now in the second biome, and it is considerably harder in there and challenging, but really cool and rewarding. They're vastly different biomes. They don't just rely on one motif, which is great. I think they're just in balance phase right now, because this game feels finished. And I'll be honest, like, I love Hades as much as the next guy, but their Dead Cells kind of beat Hades out for me overall. And this is doing that again. Like, this is just scratching my itch in a big way. Maybe it's something about the way I like to play. I don't know, but it's fan-freaking-tastic. We're all going to be talking about Windblown, especially after it's released. If any of this intrigues people, get it, play it. It just feels so good. And it's the first time in a while where I've been playing a roguelike, and I was like, yeah, I just want to keep going. I don't want to, I'm tired. I don't want to do that again. That was intense. I want to go back. I want to keep going. I want to go back to the town. I want to see what's up. I'm going to go back in. Okay, it says I got all these things I'm going to find. Okay, well, I better go do those now. Like, I could not stop playing this last night, to the point that I was playing on my Steam Deck and missed the low battery. Oh, John will love this. I missed the low battery indicator that pops up on your Steam Deck to let you know, hey, you got 10%, go charge. I completely missed it because I was so enthralled with the gameplay, and I got my furthest run ever, and right toward the end of the run, boop, whoop, shutting down because your battery is now run out or whatever. And I should have known because I'd been on the thing for 6 hours or something.
You can't plug it in while you play?
I could have, but I missed the warning, so the restart happened before I had time. So I was super pissed, but I was also happy to get right back in and play another round. So it's that good. It's great. I cannot recommend this enough. If you like roguelikes and you even sort of like Dead Cells, this is going to be huge for them. It's fantastic.
Well, let me ask you a question on this.
Go.
Because I'll tell you, like, obviously Dead Cells, good pedigree. This is the style of game I like. I've been kind of interested in it, but everything I've seen seems really like heavily leaning into the multiplayer aspect of it, like that you can do it co-op, which is of zero interest to me.
Yeah,
there is a co-op. You had a good experience solo. You feel like this is a complete package.
Oh yeah,
you're not missing out by not playing it with other people.
I think solo. The only advantage, because it scales for multiplayer, think of it as playing Diablo 3. Let's say Diablo 3 is the example. Multiplayer exists. It's always been optional, and when you do, it doesn't do it with a voice in this, but in Diablo, the voice would go, your enemies are now more difficult because more people have joined the game, and so it just scales enemies up. It's like that kind of multiplayer. So this isn't them going, and now the multiplayer is crucial to that. It's not at all. Because I'm with you. I don't want to play this with other people. I mean, I would just to see, but it's not going to be the way I want to play it the most. And from my playthrough of the first 2 biomes and everything I've done in the game so far, nothing has said, oh, better get in there with 4 people or else you're missing out, like at all.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's exciting for me.
Yeah. So I think it's a great feature for them to add for people that want that, but they've definitely not. The pedigree is still the Dead Cells like vibe of I can do this on my own, and it really supports it pretty well. I mean, I'm only 2 biomes in. I've gotten pretty far for just starting it, but I've never once felt like, oh, if I was in that multiplayer mode, I bet I'd be all right. Because it's early access, some of those servers are a little screwy, and so I looked in the menus because it does at one point say, if you wanted to, you could do this with friends, but it doesn't like force it down your throat or make you feel like you're missing out at all. So
cool.
It's very cool. Can't say enough about it. I mean, look how fast this guy's moving. This is what it feels like when you're playing. Oh my gosh.
He's moving. Yeah. He's moving.
He's haul ass. This boss here can eat a dick, but I beat him.
Okay.
He's a jerk, really hard, but I did win in the end. All right, Windblown is what that is, and available now on Steam.
I own it, but I haven't booted it up yet.
Beau, you're going to love it. Yeah. I will eat my hat if you do not end up thinking that thing is awesome.
I think I will love it. I think that's what's kept me away. I'm like, I don't have time.
Yeah, I think you will
other stuff.
Absolutely adore it. If you don't, I really will be shocked. The next game I played is one I've been trying to pick up for a while because I really like the first one. Speaking of your Metroidvanias, and all the talk about them moving on to the Ninja Gaiden revival got me kind of just thinking about them. So I went and grabbed Blasphemous 2 on the winter sale. And Blasphemous 2 is a sequel, obviously, to Blasphemous 1, which is a very kind of religious trauma-based sort of take on magic and wizards and demons and things like that. It really does feel like somebody on this team had a very strict Catholic upbringing, and they have since fallen from the flock and are very, very much dealing with their shit here. This is a lot like that. It plays like, your Castlevanias and your whatnots, but it's harder. Lots of, I wouldn't call it Souls-like exactly, even though it's tagged as such, but hard fights, telegraphed moves that you need to get out of the way from.
Right.
And
it's got that very intentional style combat.
Exactly. And I like that, even though I don't love Souls-likes. I like the way these play out. Bosses are hard, but it's also fair. You feel like you can learn it and do it. But I just love the vibe of it. One really cool thing about it, in ReFantazio, how we were talking, John, how it seamlessly goes from like, here are gameplay segments, and now I'm watching a full-on animation of a movie, basically, and it does it kind of seamlessly. This game does this now too. The first game just kind of had still-looking cutscenes that were pixelated, but this cuts to animated scenes, and they're extremely well done. I really like them. It adds so much to the experience. Maybe it's because I'm still playing metaphor, and it just feels right to be doing that. I don't know, but I'm really glad they added that to the game. It just adds so much to it cinematically and really makes you care about the characters and the stories more. Otherwise, it's just sort of, gothic, and I don't know, you can relate to it, and then sometimes you can't. Oh, the other cool thing is when you start this game, you start with 3 choices of weapon types. One is a couple of fast kind of roguelike, and I say rogue-like, I mean, not the game type, but rogues would use them. A couple of knives, right? And they're really fast, but lower damage, but you're very fast. Or you can have this sword that's kind of the middle ground, which this dude's using in this video. Or this big giant hammer mace thing that has these crazy abilities tied to it. And they all have these abilities or different abilities, but it just kind of depends on your play style and what you choose. I can't tell if there's a point in the game where I can readily change around to the different archetypes. There's some story that leads me to think that's true. So if I end up not liking one, I can go back. But right now I'm really enjoying the 2 blades. So I'm using that as my primary weapon set.
Heck yeah, rogue style.
Real cool. Yeah. He's just really agile with them. And it's the way this is done is really, it's fun to do that in these really intricately animated sprite-based games. And the sprite work here is incredible. It's just great animation, beautiful backgrounds, just a beautiful game. So finally got into it. Very excited about what they're going to do with Ninja Gaiden. And this is where things get weird. So I played a bunch of this and went, man, that's great. I'm so glad I finally played it. What did they do before this? So I started digging around. And I found a series of games they did, two of them, with multiple, what they called seasons with these games, called The Last Door, Season 1 and Season 2. And they're point-and-click horror adventures. Horror.
Horror.
Not horror. Not horror.
Yeah. You definitely get that extra horror in there.
These came out like 7 years ago or something. This is the games they did before Blasphemous. Very different. Like nothing like it except the darkness. They're really into, and I don't mean visually, but just like the dark subject matter. Very Cthulhu-esque kind of what's going on in this place. Why is it so weird here? Unravel the mysteries, but it's a point-and-click adventure game. You gather items, you combine them, you unlock stuff, you figure out puzzles. Like exactly what I'm describing is what you're thinking.
Are we LucasArts or are we Sierra? I would say Lucas, or are you?
Good question. I haven't died yet.
Okay,
so I lean toward Lucas is the ones that you didn't die, right?
Yeah, you couldn't really die. You had to push it if you wanted to die, and even then,
but it saves. Okay, no matter where you quit to get out, you are saved. So I think even if you died, they would just bring you right to where you were, and you'd have to make a different decision. But I haven't died yet, so I can't really say. I don't. I was just
curious because the art style is very old King's Quest,
big time,
like that real simple pixel style.
Yeah,
reminds me of King's Quest. But the fact that I haven't seen somebody die every 10 seconds from a poisonous snake or anything like that.
Yeah, King's Quest and Space Quest, not Space Quest. Was that what it called?
Yeah,
Space Quest. Those were brutal. From my memory, I kind of preferred the LucasArts method, which was just more testing your brain, how you could figure shit out. But this game's got, dark shit going on. There's a point where I walked out of a room, killed a crow I can't remember what I had to do, but I walked back in this one room and suddenly the room was dark and red lighting and nothing but crows standing around looking at me and like twitching and like just weird stuff like that. And it's all done in this very simple style, like you said. Intentionally, obviously, they're aiming for a certain look or whatever. So far, real good, and they were reviewed extremely well. These were only $1.99 on sale during the winter sale is just insane this year for little stuff like this. But both this and Season 2 were $1.99 each, so I just grabbed them both, kind of sight unseen, and really enjoying them a lot. Again, they are called The Last Door. The sale's still on, so you can still get these at that low price, and yeah, they're fantastic. Big fan of this. Lots of little letters lying around where you're like, ooh, Aunt Margaret was weird. What's going on there? Anyway, very cool games. I just think their lineage is good and interesting, and I'm excited about Ninja Gaiden even more after playing this stuff.
Yeah, Ninja Gaiden looks amazing.
Yeah, looks really, really good. Okay, and then a bunch of other stuff. I'll just mention these. Still playing a lot of Metaphor. Talked to John mid-show or after the break today a little bit about where I was at. I have seen the big head.
Got to the big head. Saw the big head.
Game continues to be amazing. Will it be my number one film? Will it be my pick of the year next week? Well, you have to tune in and find out. Worms WMD. I played a Worms game a whole bunch. Rotwood, I just checked into it. Another early access roguelike from the Clay people, however you say their name. That thing's shaping up nice. I think Rotwood's going to be real good, but still early access. More tape to tape. I played Mutant Football League 2 because I got a code, and it's awesome. It's basically Mutant League football, but not, so you don't have to pay EA any money, and it's modern and looks like real graphics and everything. And then a load of retro games. I played so much retro stuff this week that it almost felt like the 90s in my house.
Damn.
So there you go. That's what I spent my Christmas off time doing is those games. John, what did you get up to in the world of gaming?
Yes, hello. I played Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Rita's Rewind.
What?
That's right.
Explain more.
Wow.
It sounds like a mobile game, but I'm sure it isn't. What is this?
No, this is the kind of throwback beat 'em up style, themed after the Power Rangers. And the real simple review, it's good. It's simple. Much like Shredder's Revenge, which Beau and I played, this is a game, like, there's one attack button. And there are ways you can modify it by what you're pressing at the time. But generally speaking, like, there's a jump button, there's an attack button. It's really simple. And the fun is supposed to be from playing with other people. I played solo, so while I thought it was charming, I can't claim that I had an amazing time with it because it's not really, it's clearly designed to be an experience with other people. There are also some things I'm extremely curious how it plays with other people. So, you start off on foot as a Power Ranger, you're just fighting putties and, doing what Power Rangers do. Then you do get to a section where you are in the Zords running around as their individual selves. I was playing as the Pink Ranger, and I was a pterodactyl flying, and that was fine. But I'm curious, what does that look like when you have other people, doing their Zord thing at the same time? But then where I got really curious, like, what does this look like? Is then we formed into the Megazord where everybody's one big thing. And I was like, what does this play like with other people? Like, do I just control one appendage and other people control other elements of it? Because they all form different parts of the body, right? Like, is someone our move left, move right, and somebody punching? How does this play with more than one person? I'm really curious about that. But that's basically what my experience was. I played through the first full chapter of the game, beat my first boss. It was Goldar. That shouldn't surprise anybody. It was Goldar. Mm-hmm. So I was just like, man, this is cool, but this would be really, really good with other people. By yourself, it's probably not worth picking up. So I would say definitely use your... if you're going to be playing by yourself, I would look elsewhere. It's probably too simple, even if you're into the nostalgia of it all, to play by yourself. But with other people, it could be good. If you guys ever pick it up or anything, maybe we can try it at some point and see what it's like.
It's $45 is a bit steep for...
Yeah, it's a big ask, especially for a game that I think even with other people, you'll probably play through the game once and be like, yeah, that was fun. I mean, it's kind of like what we did with Shredder's Revenge, but the nice thing about Shredder's Revenge is it was on Game Pass. Like, it was very easy to get in and check out.
But
this feels
expensive.
Yeah.
This feels like that kind of experience, though. It's like, you want to get in with people and just goof around for a little bit and have this weird throwback kind of game.
Shredder's Revenge was more reasonably priced for multiplayer in that even if you were to buy it, it's like...
It's definitely, 29 or something?
Or 25 or 20 US, something like that.
It was pretty cheap.
Yeah, I don't remember, because it was free for me.
Is the Pink Ranger still worthy of the crush I used to have on her?
I don't know about in pixels, but, I'll let you judge those pixels for what you think of them.
What was her name? Amy... she's my age. Before anyone,
I don't know that for any reason.
For any reason anyone thinks that's weird, she's my age, Amy Jo Johnson, okay? So it's not like I had some weird crush on some totally young girl or whatever. She was my age when I had the crush on her, and she's my age now. And I probably still would if I saw her, and then my wife would punch me in the leg. So
there you go. She's older than me, so it's fine.
Yeah, it's fine.
I was as a damn kid. But yeah, it's interesting. I think it's going to be a hard sell for, solo players or, even for people that are like, yeah, let's just try and convince people to buy it. Like, this seems exactly like the kind of game for Game Pass. I don't think it's on Game Pass. I guess I should double check.
I'm always surprised by what is, but I don't think it is either. Let's see.
I don't think it is. It seems like the perfect Game Pass game because this is exactly the kind of thing that you want other people to have easy access to. Yeah, it doesn't look like it's on there.
Did you fight? Did you fight with Rita at all? Was that a thing?
I saw her. There's like a evil Robo Rita. She goes back in time to team with her younger self, cause extra trouble. Yeah.
Okay. Looks
she
like
made Goldar big.
Reviews are decent. 7s and 8s. It's about where you land.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's kind of an average game. It seems like a game that would be fun with other people, but there's a big buy-in, and the bigger the buy-in, the harder it is to convince other people to join you. And so I think that's something that's going to need to get figured out for it.
Yeah. No. Cool.
Yeah. So the other game I played a lot. We talked about it a little bit. I'll talk about it more here. Is I am one of the 2,000% growth that Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite saw, and this is because I downloaded the Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite mod and Beyond mod, and I cannot tell you. I mean, Scott's showing you if you're watching the video version how much better this game looks with this mod. It is shocking how good this game looks by comparison to what's there. And it really is displayed in the story mode because I've been playing through story mode, and all the cutscenes for story mode are using the old 3D models that just look atrocious.
Yeah.
And then you get into a battle and it's these, really comic booky, cell shaded looking models that just look absolutely great. I cannot say more, glowing things about this mod. It redoes some of the music. It redoes menus. There are new modes. They aren't for me because I'm terrible at this video game, like I am with all fighting games. But this is a good, kind of pointing. It's a button mashy one. You could just sort of all right, I'll just button mash myself through this, and it's got a good roster. The only criminal thing about this game, the reason why we still need another one is this was Marvel before they had the rights to the X-Men. There is a notable lack of X-Men in this Marvel versus Capcom. As somebody who always had Wolverine, when I played the old versions of these games, no Wolverine is real hard to take. So, but it's very, very good. And I do see why this is a game that people would put this kind of love into a mod for, because from a gameplay perspective, it plays really well and very flashy, looks very good. Even not knowing what to do, the game is intuitive enough where I was pulling off what felt like crazy good combos and doing cool things. So I really like it. I actually think the story mode isn't that bad either. It's cheesy, but in terms of a villain going, all right, well, we're going to take Ultron from the Marvel universe and we're going to infect him with the Sigma virus from the Mega Man universe. He's going to be Ultron Sigma. That's an awesome villain for Marvel versus Capcom. It's a really cool idea. So even the lore nerd in me is like, this is neat. Even if some of the stuff is, stupid, like Captain America and Iron Man fight because they want to let Thanos out to help them.
What? Okay. Jeez.
So there are really cool things in this game. The mod was very easy to install as well. The installation instructions could be a little clearer. It did take me a couple of tries because it says, hey, unzip this directly into this folder and don't do anything else. And it's like, great. But like a lot of things, that's not what they actually want you to do. They want you to overwrite the folder with the same name. Yeah. And I followed the instructions to the letter, and the mod did not work correctly, though the game was still functional. It just was a little weird looking. And then I was like, this folder is the same name as another folder. I bet this is 100% of the other mods out there where you just overwrite the folder and it's good. And I did that and it fixed and the mod ran perfectly. It was, basically copy and paste and the game just runs. So if you like these types of games, check it out. It's incredible.
Nice.
It's awesome.
There's an arcade version of this game, or was this always a home game?
I think this was always a home game.
Okay. So the original Capcom, the 2D ones, obviously those were arcade games. This thing is like some kind of new. I was just curious because if they never put Nemesis in the old one, as far as I know, and he's in this, and that's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's got a cool roster, and with the DLC characters and all that too. You got Venom in there. You get Spider-Man.
Is Mega Man in there on the Capcom side?
Original Mega Man, no. X is in here and Zero is in there.
Oh.
Which it gets huge props for putting Zero in it. I know, it's not a big thing to say people like Zero, but every time Zero turns up in a video game, I get excited. So.
Yeah. An angel gets its wings, or in John's case, he gets excited.
Basically, yeah. If you want me to be interested, if you put Zero in it, I will be there. If you want to lure me into a trap, put a picture of Zero up. I'll walk right into it. It's fine.
Put free hugs and a picture of Zero.
Yeah, I'll be like, oh, nice. But yeah, the only missing thing besides the mutants is they did put Chris Redfield in the game.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like, that's kind of scraping the bottom of the Resident Evil barrel. The guy who punches boulders, like you're going to pick him over Jill, who's been in it before, Leon, who's never been in it and is easily your best protagonist. You're going to put Chris Redfield in there.
Damn, a lot of Chris hate.
Yeah. The guy is busy. There's a lot of rocks to fight. And he should maybe do that. Although I will say his animation of him punching a boulder is a move that he does in the game. And that was good. So, if the Thing was in here, that would have been okay. Chat just said, does he fight the Thing? If they had put the Thing on the Marvel side, then Chris was absolutely a smart choice.
Well, back in 2017, that was still a Fox property, so I don't think they had access to those. I don't think they could do any Fantastic Four stuff.
No, there's none of the Fantastic Four in here either.
Yeah, that's the way of it.
Yeah. So now they need to do it again. Now Marvel's got basically everything, and if they can put Spider-Man in here, obviously that one's a lock. So let's do it.
Let's do it.
And also, you could switch Nemesis with Mr. X. Put him in instead. He's more interesting.
Just like in my nightmares, I can switch those two around. It's fine.
Yeah.
Great. John playing the old that is new, so that you don't have to, or maybe you all should go get it. It's right now. It's 80% off on Steam. Stupid price.
Yeah, it's pretty cheap, and the mod again makes it really, really cool looking. So get in there and do it. And Shatterproof gifted me as a Christmas gift. Gifted me the Marvel vs. Capcom collection, the arcade collection that came out. So I actually have access to all of these and probably dive in there as my interest deepens in the series.
Two was the one that I played the most. I think the arcade version of 2, just freaking love that up and down the wall. But I don't think I've returned to the series since then. So might be fun.
Yeah, you should check this out. Again, the mod is really, really cool. Does some neat stuff. Even things like one of the alternate color variants for Venom is that super blue color that he was back in the old Marvel vs. Capcom games. So it just makes him look like he's straight out of those old games. Stuff's cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and then I just worth mentioning, because this was an amazing gift from a listener, Maniac Medic, gifted me Dragon Quest III HD 2D remake.
Oh yeah.
And I haven't played very much of it, but I did get in. The game, interestingly enough, starts with it kind of starts with the Morrowind style, you're eating a sweet roll, and it just asks you a bunch of personality questions, and I answered them honestly, and then all of a sudden it lays out your psychological profile for you. It's just hey, let me tell you the kind of person you are. I was like, whoa, game, slow down. But honestly, it kind of was spot on.
Really?
Like, it's probably one of the better, like, I used to love taking which Marvel character are you? Do you like using repulsor beams or adamantium claws? Stupid shit like that. This was one of those where it was, I took it and it was like, hey, here's what we think about you. And it laid it out. And I was like, is this me? I think, so, and this is going to sound weird. I don't think she's listening right now. It's probably safe. It was so accurate. That the reason I didn't play more of the game is I was like, I'm going to start this game over and have my wife take this test.
Oh, that's funny.
So I haven't done it yet, but I'm going because I want to see what she gets.
Did the original did Dragon Quest 3 in its 2D glory have a Q&A at the beginning of it?
I don't know. I would assume so. I thought it was really good.
It wasn't unheard of in that era. I think Ultima had, at least Ultima 6 had one of those.
Got it right here. I'll look at it while we're talking.
Or Ultima 5, maybe.
So
wild.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. That game's interesting to me. The art style is so cool.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah. It looks really, really good. So I'm excited to play more, and I'm excited to have my wife take a personality test that the game gives me.
Sweet. I'm sure it's scientifically sourced and peer reviewed.
Yeah, and then base all my future interactions with her based on what I learned from this psych profile
and
that a video game gave her.
Chad, if you haven't seen it, it's this. And this is so well received this year. This is also the same year, of course, that Square publicly said, we don't know if we're ever going to make any more of these 2D, 3D conversions. They're not really selling that well. It's like, dude, you just put out a banger. Quit. Why do they do this every time they have a new game? They talk shit about themselves. Like immediately, a week later.
I have a theory.
What's your theory?
It's probably business. It's probably they have people on staff and they have to get them to do something. So they get them to do something, and then they're not going to say, well, we just kept them busy and we made a product and churned some money. When they go to actually talk about it, they'll be like, oh, it didn't do well. We're not going to do that again. Right. But I'm sure the devs don't know that. The devs are like, sweet, we get to make our passion project. If it sells really well, we'll get to make more. Meanwhile, the game was rigged from the jump. And because I don't think they know what to do to make the kind of revenue that they really want to make.
It's really annoying. I think that's annoying.
That's why it's like, why would you throw everything at the Deadspace remake? Yeah. Make it awesome, make it critically acclaimed just to shit on it. It's like, well, they probably had people that they had to keep busy.
Yeah, that's a fair point. So I just opened it up. I'm trying to see if it actually starts asking me these questions. Of course, it was called Dragon Warrior 3 initially, right? I want to do it. Hold on. It's the NES game. Begin a new quest? Sure. Adventure log. Okay. Don't care about the name. This is for science, guys. You must know at home. I'll be male. Select the message speed. Fast, dude. Freaking.
Give me my messages fast or not at all.
Yeah, why would I even want to bother anything else? Okay, it's my 16th birthday. Wake up, dear. Wake up. Ah. Oh, that's my name because I did all A's. Wake up. It's morning. Today is the first day. Okay, here we go. I have raised you to be a good young lad. Okay, hurry up. And
are we doing the personality quiz?
Is this the same game? Because I don't remember that's how this one started.
So this one starts with you waking up like every one of these games. You're in bed and someone wakes you up.
I don't know. Maybe it is.
But
this was last week. How am I supposed to remember what happened a week ago?
No, I mean nobody would blame you if you didn't. So anyway, it's out there, available now. Dragon Quest 3 HD 2D.
My brother got that for Christmas.
Oh yeah, nice. I forget.
Switch.
I always forget your brother's a bit of a little game head there, right?
Yeah, he's a little gamer. He has very specific tastes, often involving Final Fantasy.
Is he younger or older than you?
He's 9 years younger, 9 to 10, somewhere in that range.
So he looks to you for all his mature brother advice.
No, not really. He has his own tastes. I try to get him into things and he never wants to.
Okay, fair enough.
He has a specific little like I said, mainly Final Fantasy.
Nice. Well, Dragon Quest will do, I suppose. Beau, speaking of questing.
He likes City Skylines.
That's I kind of like that, but not all the time. Path of Exile 2 continues to be your obsession. How's that going for you?
I'm up to 200 hours now. I'm blasting the game like like nobody's business. Every waking hour is devoted to Path of Exile 2.
Mm-hmm.
So I talked a lot about it last week. I don't have much new to say about it. I'm still playing my Deadeye. I'm up to level 85. I probably should be up higher, but XP punishment sucks, and endgame has some challenges. Actually, even some broken mechanics. So if you do decide to take the plunge and play the game, the current controversy in the Path of Exile community is that armor is broken.
Oh, in what way?
So the way armor works is that you get some armor points and it reduces some damage, right?
Yeah.
But it has a funny formula that everyone figured out that the harder you're hit in terms of the number, the less effective the armor is. Now, the game is already also arguably overtuned in some areas, and armor is generally something you're going to use as a melee class, meaning you're probably going to get hit a lot more than, say, a range class. Like, I play a range class, I have minions, they take up hits. I am not stacking armor, I'm stacking evasion, which means I can completely invalidate hits up to 50%, and I've got a special node that makes it all hits, including AoEs and stuff. So every now and then a hit gets through and it smacks me for a lot, but my core defensive stat is not armor. It is evasion, and wizards, of course, any class can spec into any of these defensive stats. Wizards use energy shield, which is a second health bar over your life, which I've also spec'd into, like hybrid style. But these things work, and armor doesn't. So if you drew the short straw and decided to play a warrior, your life sucks because it's broken. So yeah. So there's stuff like that in there. There's like difficulty spikes. There's problems with end game that will be managed. That's why I said, like, if you don't play Path of Exile 2 right now, it's probably the worst shape the game's going to be in, which is it's in pretty good shape and it's fun. But you might go in there not knowing anything and put some armor on, and you'd be wrong to do so, no matter what class you're playing. That's never a great thing for your games. So I expect them to address that fairly soon.
How's the community in terms of just being reasonable at this stage?
I mean, community, like general chat is general chat. It's Baron's chat. Sometimes there's useful information or actual useful conversation going on. It's not all bad, and sometimes it's about politics and sexuality and not in a good way, just like deranged comments. So that part's a little it is what it is. You can turn that chat off, though.
Thank goodness. I hate that chat.
In terms of the creator community, I've been watching a lot of videos because even though I've played Path of Exile 1, I'm new to like blasting Path of Exile, like going to end game, understanding how all the currency works, and understanding the 15 game modes they brought over for end game. That if you played Path of Exile 1, you'd understand what Delirium is. You understand what expeditions are, I guess, or the Trial of Sekhmet. But I don't. Like I played the base campaign, so I just did the campaign vibe and usually drop the game. So because I'm like pushing end game, like pinnacle content, I don't know these things. So I watch the videos and try to learn what I can. And overall, I think the content, like it's the same vibe as when Diablo 4 came out. Like people are being super nerds, rocket scientists about how to take stats, put them together. The game is, of course, easier than 1, but there's still a lot of unexplained knowledge that a content creator can really help with in this game, as opposed to something like Diablo 4, where Diablo 4 is pretty well explained, and legendaries drop like hotcakes in that game. So, there's just a lot of information you can glean without having to go to a content creator in D4. Also, as it turns out, like I've got about 30 to 50 uniques now, which is like their game's version of legendaries. but they're so very specific and narrow in what they do for a build. They're not like auto equips. Most of them are pretty bad. Unless you're like trying to do the specific thing, because the legendaries usually have a game changing ability on them, but also drawbacks. So you don't just auto equip them. Sorry, I've got a dry throat. I gotta go get a drink. But so it's quite interesting, and I find myself continuing to play and continuing to get progression. Like just when I think I'm gonna give up, I roll on some items and I add some affixes. Like there's a really interesting mechanic that's unique to Path of Exile called corruption, which is you can use this thing called a Val Orb to corrupt unpredictably the affixes on your item, and then you can never change it. Once it's corrupted, it's done. So you can have a really good item. Let's say it has like plus 200 attack or something like that, and it has a bunch of other affixes. You're like, what fancy thing will I do when it gets corrupted? And it now has one attack, and you're like, oh, I just bricked my item trying to corrupt it. Got to throw it out, and it was a really good item. But what some things can do is it can gloriously empower your item. So like, I actually managed to roll 2 corruptions that just like flat have a 22% damage increase, just added to the item.
Jeez.
It's like super random corruption. It can like do nothing. It can be really bad or it can be really good. And when you spend a lot of time farming your best items, it's very like, oh, I don't know, am I going to ruin this item? It does make the item hunt interesting. And I just had a huge spike in power. So I'm like, oh, I want to keep playing and pushing higher difficulties.
When you call them uniques, as opposed to, what does Blizzard call them? Oh, my brain.
Well, Blizzard calls them legendaries.
Legendaries. But uniques, are they actually unique? Meaning you're the only player that ever got one, or do they still just mean the stats?
No, they're just called uniques because that's what they call them in the game.
All right.
But legendaries are usually like they're the best version. Like in the analysis in Diablo, you get a legendary and you're like, this is a good item.
Yeah.
I got a bow that was unique so my bow right now has a range of damage with both lightning and physical damage that is somewhere in the 100 to 200 baseline damage when I look at it. Mm. And I got this unique bow that does like 10 damage.
Jeez.
I'm like, why would I ever upgrade to that? Well, the affix it has on it is your quiver's stats are improved 240 some odd percent.
Mm-hmm.
So you're getting a trade-off of like low damage, but your quiver stats are going to go through the roof. But like when I'm equipping it and testing it out, I'm like, I don't like this item. My bow is like super good. I've spent a lot of time farming this yellow bow. I'm going to stick with that. Mm. And into the trunk, the unique goes. And that's like 99% of unique items. And I'm like, oh, could I play around with this? Nope. If it isn't because it's bad, it's because I'll lose resistances. So everything hits insane. So I need max evasion, max energy shield, and I need my resistances capped. And none of those, barely any of those items have good amount of resistances.
Yeah.
So into the trunk it goes. I can't use it right now, even if it looks interesting.
Right.
And finding items, it's not like you just need I need a ring with fire resist. It's like I need a couple of items to be heavily concentrated with fire, lightning, and cold resist, so that other items don't have to have the affix, but it's spread across the items. So like a big difficulty pain point, for example, is let's say I got my resistances capped out, and I find a ring, and it's more powerful, and it has resistance on it, but it has cold resistance, and the ring I'm going to replace has fire resistance. So I'm now gonna be over capped on fire resistance or cold because I'm gonna swap over and lose fire resistance I need. So I've got to also fix my other items to make sure my resistance is capped. So it's just like, this is a headache. But you put them in your stash, you save them up, you save up some currency, and then you can roll and fill those gaps as part of the learning process on how to do pinnacle content. Again, this isn't stuff you do when you're enjoying the campaign. If you're just in it for the campaign, you don't have to worry about it that much. But to do like end game content, you're now trying to perfect your build, and it's fun. I mean, I'm totally, I'm engaged by it. I've been playing it like 12 hours a day, so it's good.
Awesome. Well, there you go. Continues to be a threat.
If you have any questions, let me know.
All right, go get your water, Dry Throat Junior.
Oh yeah. Well, before I go though, I guess we're probably going to move on. I had a few other.
Whatever else you got, go for it.
I wanted to give thank yous. I got a deluge of games. Not that I need them, but thank you. Just thanks to Shatterproof and Azixa for the games. I am an owner of Metaphor Refantasio now, John.
Oh, look at you. Hey.
I might get played it. Also an owner of Tales from the Borderlands and RoboCop. So all games you guys raved about that I didn't get to because I'm hyper fixated, apparently, as you learned. It's not a guarantee I'll get to them, but I don't know. Metaphor seemed interesting to me, so we'll see.
Really good.
Azixa, who gifted me Final Fantasy VII Rebirth for the PC. So
wow,
that's now a lock for January. I was like, am I going to buy it again? I think so. I now have it in the library, so I'm looking forward to playing it in proper 120 frames per second.
Nice.
So thank you for the support, everyone. It's appreciated.
Yes, very much so. I got some cool stuff from Shatterproof as well this week. I forgot to mention it. But,
I did as well. I did mention it, but
I like thanking them. Not that he buys a lot. That's not. We don't want it to be a theme on every week's show. So you buy something next week, Shatterproof. I'm not going to talk about you. But it's Christmas. But it's Christmas, and I just feel and I feel like saying thank you for that because you're not going to get thanks in the form of me playing the game.
Yeah,
if that matters to you, if you bought something for me, I didn't play it, and you're like, I'm never buying that bastard anything again. Like it's been a while since I think Shanafan bought me like the VR case files for LA Noire, and it's been 3 years, and didn't get another gift, and it's totally fine. I'm not expecting it. I'm just saying
you should play it.
I feel like if you buy me a couple gifts and I don't touch any of them, you're going to stop buying me gifts. And I'm sorry, but it's also the way I play, as we discussed, the way I play games. So thank you and good night.
Yeah, your Beau's game studio where he publishes Lake Runner is called Hyperfixation Games. That's the name of it.
Hyperfixation game. That's a good name for a.
It's not bad.
Studio,
yeah. Write that down. You can have it for free. Nobody else uses it.
What about hyperpixelate game?
Hyperpixelization. No, you don't.
Well, just like it's like a pun on hyperfixation, but pixelation.
Pixel.
Is it pixelation?
Your guys' ability to say it makes it seem like a great choice.
Yeah, if we can't say it reliably,
fair enough, John.
That's a really good point. Glad he's in this meeting.
And I had one more thing I wanted to talk about. It's not a game I played, but it probably should have gone in news, but I just wanted to shout out. We've talked about Pirate Software before.
Yeah.
He did a really good interview with the devs of Dune Awakening. And Dune Awakening sounds awesome. I recommend the watch, of course, but it's going to be I just wanted to mention really briefly, just to entice you a little bit with it, the survival aspect, because it's MMO-y. Is that like your home base zone is a place where like people can't mess with it pretty much, and your guild, like your team or whoever, can build it up, but then you go out to the broad big desert beyond, like, I guess the wall of rock, and you'll build bases like EVE Online style to extract resources and defend and do PvP or whatever, whatever. There's be PvE zones too, but you do that business out in the desert, right? And it's pretty lore accurate in that, like, if you turn the shields on, it attracts the worms, so you can like kill yourself and get eaten by a worm by turning the shield on. Little touches like that. But the thing I thought was really remarkable was that every week on the reset, a sandstorm is going to clear out all the bases. So every week you're going to be building new stuff in the desert as a sort of race to get resources every week. And I just thought that was really neat, because for a persistent world game, to have like structures like the way EVE Online does it, but to do it a different way in a desert, it has land and like MMO style combat. It just sounded really compelling. It made me really excited for the game.
Nice.
So yeah.
All right. Cool. Very nice.
All right, I'm gonna get water.
All right, Beau's getting water. While he's getting water, where the hell are we here? Oh, I know what we're doing. Check this out right here. Whoops.
That's a good question.
We're going to read some of your feedback and your comments. CORE-espondence, we call it. Get it? Emails and texts. If you want to email us, talk to the core at gmail.com. You want to text us, 801-471-0462. We're going to start with Justin Hall and his message. This is an email he sent for the core crew. He says, because you guys spoke glowingly of Metaphor ReFantazio, I thought I would check out the demo. I only played for an hour because 98% of the game was just narrative and story, very little actual gameplay. I looked up when you can truly play the game without so much narrative, and I found it was about 5 hours into the game. I have no doubt the game is really great based on the way people talk about it. However, when I sit down to play a game, I want to play. I don't want to watch slightly interactive anime. I don't care for the games that say the first amount of X hours are annoying, but then it gets good, unquote. If you're not having fun in the first hour, then personally, I don't care for your game. I'm glad that both Scott and John enjoyed the game. I take your recommendation seriously. However, thought you guys might want to point out to the rest of the community the issue with the opening hours of Metaphor ReFantazio to people like me. Thanks, Justin. I think we did mention this.
Well, I think we might have mentioned it, but I also think even if we didn't, like, I don't think it's an issue. Like, I think everybody is going to have their thing, right? Like, I'm not going to get excited about a sports game unless it's doing something wildly different.
Yeah.
You know, like, we have genres, and like, I don't care if Madden NFL 2026 is game of the year. Somebody's going to have to explain to me why that would matter to me as somebody that doesn't like sports games.
Right.
This is a role-playing game, and I think it's clearly a role-playing game. And role-playing games, especially out of Japan, are story text-heavy. Like, that's the nature of the game. I don't think you have to put a disclaimer in front of it to say, hey, just so you know, this RPG plays like an RPG. Mm-hmm. Like, I get what you're saying, and I think it's fine. Like, I'm not trying to tell Justin that they have to like Metaphor. That's not going to be a game for everybody. I don't think this is a year where the same game is going to be everybody's game of the year. In fact, we were talking about that at the break, where last year it kind of felt like Baldur's Gate 3 was a shoo-in for us. It was top of all three of our game of the year predictions or choices individually. So it was easy for us to go, well, Core's game of the year is Baldur's Gate 3. This year, maybe two of us agree, maybe, but it's Beau hasn't even played it. Like, you know what I mean? It's not a shoo-in. It's not a universal flavor.
Wow.
So while I'm going to speak very glowingly of it, if you don't like JRPGs, you are not going to like Metaphor ReFantazio.
Yeah.
It's of that genre.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to say your point, but you already made it, which is just, it's kind of goes without saying for Japanese RPGs, like for them to be top heavy. I was complaining a bit about it, I think, with even the Yakuza games, which some are arguably not role-playing games. They're just top-loaded up front with a lot of narrative heft. Yeah. But it goes away.
And I would also argue the Metaphor is less so than most. Like, that's one of the reasons I like it, is it is less. Is it top heavy? A little bit, but is it top heavy compared to any number of other JRPGs that I've played? No, it's actually less so. Like, there's more to do and see than I'm used to. That's part of why I like it, because it breaks some of those.
It felt
traditions.
like it's like for like a Dragon, the first Ichiban one. I'm pretty sure it's like somewhere in the 10-hour range.
Yeah, it's a really long
or
time.
more before you start feeling like, oh, I'm actually kind of like playing. Like, it's just sometimes it's identifying if you're maybe in your head you're like, I want to play this game, and I bought it and I want to play it, but like you just need to press buttons right now, and you're not in the mood for it. Yeah. For just watching some TV or watching it. But like, if you can get into the vibe, you will be rewarded with a fun game. They don't have to be like that. I just find I notice it more with Japanese games in particular. I think like American studios are like, we got to keep people engaged or they're going to stop playing. So put some exciting shit right up front.
Yeah.
That's like definitely a Western like standard for
but even
and it exists in everything, like going to World of Warcraft after having played Final Fantasy 14 for so long. Like, again, I'm not trying to say one is right, one is wrong. This was my reaction to it, but like doing questing in World of Warcraft, it makes my eyes roll constantly because it feels like they're telling this like personal story. It's like, yeah, we got serious business going over there. We gotta get over here. Let's go pick up a couple things. I need 5 rocks. And you're like, okay, I'll go pick up 5 rocks. Pick up 1 rock, pick up 2 rocks. Picking up this rock for some reason spawned 3 monsters because we can't go 5 seconds without having to have combat of some kind. Yeah. Like, it's extremely predictable when you're doing something in WoW. Like, oh, we need to save the animals. It's very important to save the animals. Give them an injection to protect them from this disease. Oh, what do you know? The 2nd, 3rd, and 4th animal that I injected got mad and I had to kill them beat them up in order to give it to them because they got to put some combat in there somewhere. Whereas on the other side, Final Fantasy XIV is not afraid to give you 17 quests in a row that don't see any combat.
Yeah, a lot.
And it's like, it's 2 different styles. It's 2 different approaches. It's going to be up to personal taste on which you like better.
Final Fantasy has talk about top load. 14 is like, you don't do shit for
a long time.
A very long time. It throws you if you're not used to it. You're just like, whoa.
Yeah.
But I think that's to your point. Some of this stuff just isn't for sport, like you said with sports games. A perfect comparison. Some people cannot wait for this year's version of Madden or whatever next sports game they want to get their hand on. I even like sports games, but I don't. John not liking them it's just a thing. So he's not going to get excited. I think the bigger concern is I just hope Justin didn't feel like we had sold him a different game because I think we've been pretty accurate in our description of it. Like what kind of game it is. So that's the only thing I would say. Like I we didn't describe Quake, we described Metaphor. And Metaphor is
I think we referenced it being connected to Persona because even there's even people that are like, well, I love role-playing games. But Persona and that ilk is its own style of role-playing game. Like I played through a lot of the old Final Fantasies, and it was a constant joke that my method of beating every Final Fantasy was just hitting attack over and over again. Like just brute forcing it, find a way to cheese the game and just attack repeatedly with overpowered attacks. Mm. Persona isn't like that. Persona, you almost constantly use magic, summons. If you're choosing the attack option in Metaphor, once you really get into the game, you're playing that game wrong because Persona style games are about mana management. Mm-hmm. Like that's essentially your stamina system going into a dungeon. It's like, okay, you can go into the dungeon, but do you have enough mana to get through the dungeon? Yeah. Because you're going to have to be spending that mana constantly. And that's its own very specific style that some people don't like. So I feel like even on top of going like, oh yeah, it's a JRPG, I also feel like we put on the disclaimer there that like, and it's in the Persona style where it's, kind of about upping your stat points. You have sort of soft time limits on things to a degree. It's about managing your mana through dungeons. Like, it's just the style of what the game is. It's not going to be for everybody.
And if you're like me and you didn't like Persona 4, I like 5, but I think Royale's really good. But I think 4 had, talk about top-loaded, holy shit, 4 was school, it felt like. Literally, it's in a school. But also, it was just like, it was like doing homework for me. Did not like that game at all. Metaphor, to me, improves on all the pacing, all the delivery. The voice acting's incredible. The music's great. The plot points are followable and not translated poorly. Like for me, this is a huge improvement over that in that style of game. Massive improvement over the previous titles.
Well, it has the advantage of not being because a lot of the Persona games are like, well, you're normal kids going to school, doing your school stuff. Something wild happens. Yeah. So you kind of have to get introduced to the school, introduced to the characters, introduced to the flow of school. Then you have to get introduced to the weirdness and then everything tied to that. By this being in a fantasy story already, they were like, no, it's a fantasy story. Fantasy crap's going on.
Yeah.
Like there's less of layers of introduction that you have to get through before the game takes off.
And I think that's why it won me over. And I think that for somebody like Justin, this may be impenetrable regardless of what we say, but just know that it's, it's not even as bad as those previous games. Bad in terms of like the things you don't want. But it just may never be your genre. So
Yeah, I mean, like if you're a gameplay first person and you want to play an RPG, play Final Fantasy 16. You know, like that's a game that's far more focused on having a combat system and putting you in the action, but even that's going to have its slugs of dialogue and story and plot. So
definitely,
it may just not be the genre for you. Go play an action game. There's nothing wrong with that. Everybody's got their taste. That's not a judgment. It's just, I like RPGs a lot.
Yeah.
So that's where my interests are going to lie.
They're in your blood. All right. Well, let's move on to this one. This is a text from, let's see, who is this from? Rob from Texas says, for the CORE Christmas Carol show, the 12 Days of CORE Holiday Carol. You ready for this?
Yep.
I'm not going to sing it. I'm just going to say it.
Well, come on. Let's be brave.
I don't know, man. Be brave. All right, here we go.
Wait, what if we round robin this? You do one, then I'll do one, then Beau does one.
Okay. Beau, you into it?
Okay.
That's the least.
Beau was all on board with yes, Scott. Be brave, and then he got looped in, and he's like,
I don't know about this bullshit.
Yeah. It's a lot, right? We have to sing all 12.
Well, each one of us does one, so it's only you doing. What is that? 12 divided by 3.
Of a different song.
The 12 at 5.
Yeah, it's just one time through.
Yeah, it's just one line. I was thinking of something different, like the wheels on the bus go round and round, where you got to sing.
Oh hell no, we're not doing that.
A verse for every one. I'm like 12 verses, Jesus.
So we're on our final verse of this song, is what it is, like the last.
Yeah,
verse.
yeah, we're just doing the last verse.
Yeah. All right, here we go. I'll start at 12. 12, Scott soundboarding.
11 listeners calling.
There's words before that.
What? Where?
Wasn't it?
Beau, how did you mess this up, man? We had a flow. It was your turn, and you somehow had one thing to say.
What words? You mean in the song or on the email here?
Yeah, in the Christmas Carol. You didn't start at the Christmas Carol.
Well, they didn't include other words.
Oh, I know what he means. Okay, so I'll start it over and say, on the 12th day of Christmas, my girlfriend gave to me. It's not my girlfriend, it's my true love. My true love gave to me. Scott soundboarding.
11 listeners calling.
10 bows a pooping.
We didn't do that on purpose. We didn't time that on purpose. John may have noticed. 9 dragons beefing.
8 codes and prizes.
7 letters to Margaret.
6
Martha.
6 fast grannies.
5 frogs in pants.
Nice.
4 sexy pizzas.
3 beloved hosts. Oh.
2 games made in a weekend.
And
a doghouse system PC.
See, that's pretty good. Oh gosh, I'm glad Christmas is over after this reading. This has been rough.
What's amazing is how well we executed that on the first try.
Yeah, we didn't, no stumbles, no issues. It was perfect.
Yep.
The very vision of perfection. Thank you, Rob from Texas, for making us do that. We also got one final message here from an anonymous listener. There's also a text. He says, hey, Core Gang, I just spewed a mouthful of coffee all over a customer's floor while listening to your celibate Catholic Bears conversation. Riveting stuff never changed. I don't remember this.
What?
I do. This made me laugh a lot.
What was the celibate Catholic Bears thing?
No idea.
We were talking about the Vatican, please. I think.
Okay.
And Scott mentioned the Bears got brought up. Somebody said something like they're celibate, and Scott went, the Bears? And it was very funny to me. Apparently very funny to this listener.
Oh, because we said, right, I remember the exchange where I thought you meant the Bears, but you really meant the priests or something.
Yeah.
So I said, we were talking about Bears.
Or something. What could it be?
Someone, Jamie or somebody needs to go like single it out.
Be celibate. It's a tough one.
Without mashups, who knows what we talked about on this show?
I don't either, but I kind of remember it now. So I'm glad that we made you, what do you say, spill coffee, a mouthful of coffee all over a customer's floor. I'm afraid to ask what work you were doing there.
I like the idea that we're making enemies. Yeah. Someone out there's like, my floor was ruined by that CORE podcast.
Yeah, maybe he's an installer. He's installing some Windows for somebody, and he's in the customer's house, and
that's a good one. Or like
made him a coffee, and then he's like, he put his headphones in, and then spat coffee all over the floor, and now he's gonna get a bad review on whatever review site window installers use to be reviewed online. Is it Yelp? I don't know.
They probably have something, right? Everybody's got something.
It's not glass ceiling because that's something different.
Yeah, that isn't it. But if you're an HVAC, where do you go to say where
do you go to review HVAC companies? Yeah,
exactly. I don't think that's.
I guess it's the Better Business Bureau, but I mean online.
Probably Reddit. It's probably Reddit.
Yeah, maybe
Reddit's for everything. They got the porn there and stuff.
They like to say that they're the front page of the internet.
They do like to say it.
There's many things on there that shouldn't be on anyone's front page. So I don't know.
No, I agree with you. Well, anyway, it's good stuff. Thank you, anonymous listener. That's going to do it for today's show. Oh, I meant to bring up our Patreon, which I'll do now. It has been a whirlwind year, the year 2024. And a highlight for me has been all the great support from our listeners. For example, we have some recent folks like, when was our last show? That was on 12.
It was on, definitely not January 2nd, 2025. I see
those.
That's
12/19.
12/19. So since then, the following folks have joined us: Zachary Newton, Evangelos Saris, Derek Maxey, Joe Necrado Co. Something like that.
Can't help you this time, Scott. I can't see the list.
You didn't post them.
I didn't put them in there.
We can't pull you out of the fire if you don't post them in the show notes.
I like this one.
You're on your own. Good luck
Forsyth.
Recognizing your name.
We got somebody named Forsyth Jones. Amazing name. Ashilla Amanda Putri. Look like an M the way those letters were. And Martin.
Wow, that turned into a very different name the second attempt.
And then today, we also got somebody today named Martin DeJagger. You like that?
That's weird.
Yeah. One G, though, not two. But maybe it's Jaeger. Could be
Jaeger, probably.
Jaeger. Yeah, DeJagger.
DeJagger. Like that.
But Martin's my middle name, so that's weird. That's
weird. That's right. I always forget that. He has two A's in his Martin, though, so he's got a pretty foreign sounding.
That's a lot of, that's borrowing an A from somewhere else, clearly.
Yeah, and he did that in the middle of the night, which tells me he doesn't live here. But anyway, this was fantastic to see all these new names, and such a great year for our patrons. Thank you guys so much. Continue to get no ads or commercials. You get pre-show content every week and other monthly benefits, including host specials. We just put one up from John. Go check it out if you haven't listened to it. Great Q&A episode John did. It was very good. And art in the mail. Go check it all out. That's over at, frogpants.com/core or patreon.com/core show. That's going to do it for us. I think that's it. You guys got anything you want to end with here at the end of the final episode?
We got to do Grandma.
Oh, yeah, shit. Grandma's got to say something.
People know what we talked about.
Before Grandma, do we have any other announcements for...
ways to close out the year?
I could tell you this. I can tease people. I have a really cool interview set up for the month of January that will be exclusive to Core. It is with somebody that is exciting to talk to that I haven't talked to before, and they were super stoked at the idea. So I'm excited about it. Gonna sit down with them, and that's all I'm gonna tease it. We're pulling a Johnson on this one.
And core listeners are gonna like this one. So
it's in our wheelhouse.
I know what it is. I like when I know what the Johnson being pulled is.
I can share the pulling.
Pull.
Yeah, sharing the pulling.
Pull.
Yeah, yank. Pull on it.
Scott remembered there's 3 hosts on the show and informed us of the pull.
That's right. Yeah. So tune in for that.
I'm not telling anybody. So
I suspect a week and a half or so from now is when you'll get it, but we're still locking down the date. But I'll let you guys know.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's going to be great. All right. Well, without any further ado, Grandma, you may as well tell us what the hell we talked about. What did we play?
Well, if you want to know what they talked about this week, it was a lot of games, so hang in there. Here they go. Scott talked about Windblown and Blasphemous 2 and a point-and-click adventure game called The Last Door. And then in casual conversation, he mentioned Metaphor Refantasio, Worms WMD, Rotwood, Tape to Tape, Mutant League Football, or Mutant Football League, said it backwards, eyes are going, and retro games, whatever the hell that means. He wrote retro games. Good for him. John played Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Rita's Rewind. It's not a mobile game. It just sounds like it. And he played Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite and Beyond.
Yeah.
That's a mod, that last part, the and Beyond. It's Buzz Lightyear mod.
Yeah.
He also played Dragon Quest III HD 2D Remake, which is just word salad, and I thought I was having a stroke as I said it.
Excellent.
Beau played Path of Exile 2.
Yeah, more Path of Exile 2. That means you guys get to go play it as well. We'll see you next week for more. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being here for 2024. We hope you had a nice Christmas. We'll see you next week.
Those pants are made for frogging, if you know what I mean. I actually don't. Frogpants.com. Yeah.